What's up, guys? Don't forget to smash that like button, drop a comment, hype up the video, and if you're new here, hit that subscribe and join the family. Guys, if you want to support the channel and get something cool, check the first link in the description. Use my code HugoHenriqueMore to get 10% off on anime lamps. The story begins at the Junior Beastmaster School, where a voice reminds the students that with the Beastmaster exam approaching, there's less than a week left, and tomorrow will be the qualification assessment. The teacher says everyone has already contracted their first beast and advises them to rest well today, prepare thoroughly, and strive for good results. Dismissing the class afterward, a boy comments that the evaluation is coming and he's really nervous, and his partner replies that no one can say otherwise. After all, even with their current skills, it's hard enough to become an apprentice beastmaster. And when it comes to the Advanced Academy, honestly, it's not even worth thinking about. The blonde boy says his goal is to enter the Ningjiang City Beastmaster Academy, which, although not top tier, he believes he can get into as a mid-level school without trouble. The boy beside him is desperate, saying he can't even pass the apprentice exam, and if that continues, he'll just be an ordinary person for the rest of his life. As the Beastmaster qualification exam approaches, the protagonist wonders what it even has to do with him. After all, he's a time traveler, having crossed space and time into this body just a week ago. From the memories he inherited, he learned what kind of world this is. Hundreds of years ago, during a great catastrophe, countless ferocious beasts emerged from dimensional rifts, hunting humans and spreading destruction. Humanity resisted, and amid the brutal war, they discovered techniques to tame these beasts and control them for battle. Thus was born the profession of Beastmaster, which rose to the top of society. In this age of taming, Beastmasters became symbols of status and power. Since then, becoming one has meant entering the elite class. And for young people, the greatest dream is to become a powerful spiritual master. In this world, all youths aged 18 or older can contract their first beast, and the stronger their soul, the higher the level of creature they can control. But none of that has anything to do with him, since the original owner of this body had already contracted his first beast, a harmless little Snowball, cute, but incapable of causing any damage. Not only is it harmless, it also can't evolve, and he wonders if he's destined to be an ordinary person living a mediocre life. He thinks about how other time travelers get absurd powers and divine talents, yet he ends up like this. A boy approaches and tells Lindsay not to think too much. Even if he doesn't become a Beastmaster, he can just work an office job, which isn't bad since it's safe. Another jokes that he can take his Snowball to sell ice cream at the mall entrance, or even sell cold drinks, which makes Lin grit his teeth in anger. Just then, the system notifies that it has finished loading and is activating. Successfully, the achievement system is officially launched. Z wonders if this is his golden finger, since it had been so long since he arrived in this world and the system hadn't appeared yet. Maybe it was charging. He says that heavenly sound is wonderful. His golden finger has finally arrived. The system displays his attributes and explains that achievement points and bonus items are granted upon completing challenges, and these points can be used to strengthen beast growth and unlock special abilities. Surprised, Z comments on the achievement points and finds it amazing, asking about his little Snowball. The system shows that once growth reaches 100%, evolution will be triggered. Shocked, he says he thought evolution was impossible. Then the system displays two evolution routes, the Giant route, which enhances melee combat, and the Queen route, which improves ice element affinity. Lin Z is stunned, saying the Snowball clearly couldn't evolve and wonders if this could be a hidden route. If it's true, then he won't need to set up a stall to sell ice cream. And maybe, just maybe, he can truly become a Beastmaster. More notifications appear about the Queen route, showing that the next evolutionary form is the Ice Crystal Spirit, requiring 100% growth in a low-grade ice element essence. Z decides to test the achievement points to enhance the little Snowball, having only one left. The system confirms the use of the point and the creature levels up, completing evolution successfully. Amazed, the protagonist confirms it really works and marvels at the dazzling visual effects that fade quickly, thinking he still needs to prepare the ice element essence and spiritual jade, since evolution is the right path forward. 20 ice element essences and 1 spiritual jade were required, items almost no one would ever imagine being essential to evolve a creature like that little Snowball, and they were far from cheap. Z decided to search for these materials and headed to the pet shop. A boy, mocking him, asked if he was ready to take his little Snowball home and sell ice cream. Lin replied irritably, telling him not to meddle since tomorrow's qualification test would depend on him. The bully Jiang overheard and asked what he had just said. Ze thought to himself that the Jiang family was the second most influential in Jiangning City, and he couldn't afford to pick a fight with them yet, so he replied that the real trash would be revealed at the final exam. Jiang laughed mockingly, saying it was just him, and that useless plush toy incapable of evolving, and that if he were in his place, he wouldn't even waste time participating in the assessment since it would be impossible to pass. His friend joined in on the joke, telling Z to go home and sell popsicles. At that moment, a girl approached and asked them to stop. Jiang smirked, saying it was Miss Guan and pretending to be scared of that loser, while the large guy beside him commented that he didn't understand why she cared so much about someone like him, and that she should just follow Brother Hao instead. The protagonist simply replied that there was no point in arguing, that when the time came, everyone would understand naturally, and said he needed to go to the pet shop, asking her to head home first. Later, Lin complained about the absurd price of the evolution materials, saying he had spent months of savings in one go, until he heard someone calling his name. It was Guan asking if he had just gotten back and saying her mother wanted to know if he would be having dinner there that night. Z replied that he'd go later. The girl hesitated before asking if he would participate in the Beastmaster qualification assessment the next day. He confirmed, and she smiled, surprised, saying that was great and asking him to teach Jiang and his gang a lesson. Lin answered confidently, and she wished him well before leaving. Later, sitting on the couch, Z muttered that the ice element essence and spiritual jade were way too expensive, and that once he leveled up, they'd only get pricier. He called his beast over to eat and evolve, telling it to eat slowly. No one was going to steal its food. A bluish aura began to surround the creature, and he asked in surprise if it was really evolving, amazed by the intense glow. Lin watched closely until the smoke cleared, revealing the complete transformation. The little Snowball had evolved, and Z was thrilled to see the process had succeeded, realizing it had leveled up entirely. While high school students at Pinghai number 1 usually had beasts between the 3rd and 5th stages of rank 1, his had jumped straight to rank 2. He noticed that the creature now emitted a cold so intense that simply approaching it made one feel a cutting chill, and he realized its strength had grown far beyond expectations. If it hadn't been for the system showing him the right materials, no one would ever have invested so much in a beast considered weak. But the gamble paid off. The system reported that he had obtained a spiritual crystal and a power crystal. The first increased spiritual energy, determining how many and what level of beast one could contract, and the second directly enhanced physical aptitude, an even greater advantage. Suddenly, Lin felt a strange sensation as powerful energy spread through his body, notifications appearing to inform him that his physique, spirit, and spiritual power had all improved. He realized he no longer felt cold and noticed a steady flow of energy emanating from within, concluding that even if one didn't fight directly, having a strong body was vital since, in moments of danger, it could mean the difference between life and death. The creature began to look tired, and the protagonist told it to go all out and use all the achievement points at once. He kept releasing mana nonstop, determined to make the creature level up further. The system notified that the beast had reached rank 2, stage 4 of growth. Lin smiled with satisfaction, thinking that tomorrow the Advanced Association would surely be shocked during the evaluation. The next day, Guan asked if he was ready, and Z confidently replied that he was, saying that today he would also earn his Beastmaster qualification. The blonde girl was delighted and commented that he suddenly seemed more motivated. Before, he would never have taken part in something like this. And he replied that people change. Nearby, 2 girls watched and whispered that Guan Ning was a talented third-year student at the number 1 elementary school, but they couldn't understand why she liked spending time with that loser. One of them said she'd heard rumors that Zhou Hong, also from number 1 elementary, confessed to her yesterday and got rejected, asking what everyone even saw in her. Lin reflects that Guan is his cousin, and also a genius from Pinghai number 1 high school, widely admired and envied, but she never seems to care about any of that. Guan then asks if he really intends to use the little Snowball in the assessment, and Z confirms, telling her not to underestimate his partner. The girl laughs and says that if everyone passes today, they'll celebrate together, as there's a shop she's been wanting to visit for a long time. Suddenly, a young girl runs up and yells at her to stop, shouting to her brother that she's the one who stole her boyfriend. Guan frowns and asks who she is and who she's talking about, and the girl answers that she means Zhou Hong. Guan retorts coldly that she's not interested in that delinquent, that he was the one who confessed, and she merely turned him down. The other insists she's lying and must have tried to seduce him first. Guan sighs, takes her cousin by the arm, and says she won't waste time arguing since there are more important things to do. The muscular boy touches her shoulder arrogantly, saying she doesn't take him seriously and asking if she has permission to leave, warning her not to blame him for being rude after messing with his cousin. Guan demands that he let go. The brute widens his eyes, raises his fist, and tries to hit her, but the protagonist catches his hand before the blow lands. Ning is shocked. The little girl shouts for her brother to stop fooling around, saying everyone knows how useless that cousin is. The muscular guy glares at him and asks if he wants to play the hero saving the damsel, warning him to think twice before getting involved. Lin throws him hard, sending him flying and crashing heavily to the ground. Z calmly says that she's his cousin, and if he wants to settle something, he should settle it with him. The brute grits his teeth in fury while Guan watches in disbelief, realizing how strong her cousin has become after enhancing his body. The muscular boy tries to defend himself, claiming Lin provoked him and that if anything happens, it'll be his fault. He then releases his mana, glowing intensely, and summons his ghost wolf. The beast appears shrouded in blue energy, and he says he never expected a mere high school student to have the guts to face his rank 2 wolf. Guan watches, thinking that her own beast is only rank 1, stage 7, and even though she trusts it, the chance of victory is slim. Still, she asks her cousin if he plans to use the little Snowball. Lin nods, saying that if anyone gets hurt, it could affect the evaluation, so it's better for him to handle it. The young girl screams that he's insane, asking how someone with the worst qualifications in Pinghai number 1 can say such a thing, and orders her brother to end it quickly. The brute commands his wolf to attack. Z raises his hand, releasing a cold, radiant light, and a freezing pressure fills the air. The wolf is instantly encased in ice, frozen solid. The little creature's attack is devastating. Guan's eyes widen, and she asks if that's the little Snowball. Lin replies with a faint smile that it isn't. She's evolved. The muscular boy tries to command his wolf to move, but Z interrupts, saying her name is now Ice Crystal Spirit. The creature releases shimmering ice pendants, and fragments fall to the ground, covering everything in a thin, frozen layer. The brute stares in disbelief, watching his beast defeated instantly, asking how a high school student, whose beasts usually barely reach rank 1, stage 9, could wipe out his rank 2 monster in a single strike. The little girl, terrified, asks what they should do, and the muscular boy, trembling, admits he never expected him to have a superior class rank 2 beast. Z slowly approaches and asks if he wasn't the one who said they could leave. Both step back terrified as the Ice Crystal Spirit begins releasing another wave of gleaming ice shards that hover menacingly in the air. The brute panics and immediately apologizes, saying he was wrong. The protagonist answers coldly that he's apologizing to the wrong person. The brute then turns to the girl, begging for forgiveness and admitting they made a mistake, pleading for mercy and promising that when he returns, he'll teach Zhou Hong a lesson. The girl calls out to him, confused, asking why he's just standing there, until she's slapped across the face by her own brother. Lin simply tells them to forget it and leave, gently patting his creature. The girl and the brute run away in panic. Guan stares at him, astonished, saying he's amazing and wanting to know how he did that since that was a rank 2 ghost wolf. She asks what's going on with the Ice Crystal Spirit and whether the little Snowball can still evolve. The protagonist confirms but says there's no time now and that he'll explain later. They need to hurry and get to the qualification exam site. Inside the Imperial Beast Association building, people were gathered around the Origin Stone, murmuring that although it was massive, it didn't seem to have anything special about it. Lin thought to himself that this was the final qualification assessment of the year. Some would lose their chance to ever become Beastmasters, while others would gain entry into the Imperial Academy and begin a new life, and he needed to be among the latter. A young man stepped forward, welcoming everyone to the Apprentice Beastmaster qualification exam. Upon entering, each participant received a small bronze medal engraved with instructions: low, medium, high, and superior. This would be their last opportunity to enter the Origin Stone's realm, where they would have to choose the difficulty of the challenge they'd face. The higher the level, the greater the rewards. The screen displayed the 4 options: low, medium, high, and superior, with the last granting direct promotion to Apprentice Beastmaster. The crowd murmured excitedly that passing the superior difficulty would be incredible. Guan asked which level her cousin planned to choose. The supervisor spoke up, reminding everyone to think carefully before deciding, since their choice was directly tied to their future growth, and they should match the challenge to their own strength. Ning lowered her head and made her choice. The results appeared on the screen. 46 people had chosen low, 10 chose medium, 1 chose high, and 1 chose superior. 2 boys started laughing, mocking whoever picked superior, saying that whoever it was could kiss their Imperial Academy dreams goodbye. Guan looked at the screen in shock and asked if her cousin had really chosen the superior difficulty, reminding him that if he failed, he wouldn't be able to apply to the Beastmaster Academy. The protagonist calmly replied that he knew what he was doing and told her not to worry. The people around them whispered, wondering if he was the one who chose it, if he pressed the wrong button, or if he was simply insane. The supervisor looked at him and asked if he hadn't heard the warning, urging him to think again. Lin replied that he'd made the decision after careful thought. The supervisor asked if he truly believed he could pass the superior difficulty, and Z confirmed that he did. The man shook his head, saying young people were always arrogant. He had warned him, and if he wanted to play with fire, that was his problem. Once everyone confirmed their choices, he announced the start of the test. The participants sat down, closed their eyes, and a powerful energy began to fill the room, radiating a blinding light. When it faded, they appeared on the monitoring screen. The supervisor leaned forward with curiosity, commenting that the boy who chose the highest level looked interesting. Inside the virtual realm, the protagonist found himself crouched on the ground, realizing he had truly entered the illusionary domain of the Origin Stone. He recalled that any injuries sustained there, to himself or his beast, wouldn't affect reality, so there was no reason to hold back. The system notified him of an unclaimed achievement, victory in his first battle, defeating the Ghost Wolf. Lin grinned as he realized he could use the system inside this realm. More notifications appeared, stating he had earned 100 achievement points and a spiritual crystal. Z immediately ordered the system to use both the crystal and the 100 points. The system confirmed the attribute enhancement, and the protagonist thought his chances of victory had just skyrocketed. Suddenly, something stirred ahead. When he looked up, a flaming lizard emerged from the fire, charging forward. Lin frowned and muttered that they said the superior difficulty was supposed to be challenging. So why was the first enemy only level 1? The lizard opened its jaws and unleashed a torrent of flames. Z ordered the Ice Crystal Spirit to cast Icicle Burst, and the creature released a wave of ice that clashed violently with the fire, freezing the enemy solid in an instant. The protagonist remarked that his Ice Pendant attack seemed even stronger now, and noticed that the first level was cleared. 5 more remained. The challenge continued. Another monster with powerful energy approached, a creature wrapped in bandages, resembling an undead level 1, stage 9. Lin thought that for others, a rank 1, stage 9 enemy would still be a serious threat. The supervisor watched closely through the screen. Inside the dungeon, another skeleton was crushed, and Z thought the whole thing felt like child's play. The supervisor commented that the boy had gotten lucky since the last opponent was countered by his elemental advantage, but added that the true challenge was about to begin. The second level was cleared, and the test went on. Another monster appeared, a plague beast, plant type level 2, stage 2, its eyes gleaming eerily. The supervisor analyzed the data, noting that Z's beast seemed to be rank 2, stage 1 at best, while the blight beast was rank 2, stage 2, superior in both rank and stage. No matter how talented the boy was, there was no way he could make it past this level. The creature lunged forward, and the protagonist observed that the twisted tree had rough bark and thick flesh, truly capable of withstanding the ice shards. The beast attacked ferociously, cracking the ground, releasing vines, and trapping the Ice Crystal Spirit as it charged ahead. The supervisor watching from outside chuckled, saying that while Z was considered strong among freshmen, that was as far as it went. But suddenly his expression froze. The beast's feet began to turn solid white, freezing rapidly, locking it in place. Lin activated the domain of extreme cold and asked if they really thought he only had one ability. Shards of ice began to form around him and shot toward the immobilized beast, covering its body completely. The creature let out a guttural scream of pain, and Z calmly declared that it was over. The third level was cleared successfully. The challenge continued with 2 levels remaining. Outside, one participant opened his eyes and sighed that he almost defeated his beast. Another boy lamented his failure that year, saying he hadn't expected the 5th level of the lowest difficulty to be so hard. He'd faced a rank 1, stage 6 monster. Nearby, another student cheered in excitement after passing and officially becoming a Beastmaster apprentice. Some were disappointed at failing until they noticed something unusual on the screen. A ferocious beast with razor-sharp claws appeared, a rank 2 creature. Murmurs erupted as they questioned how a rank 2 monster could show up in an apprentice trial, and whether that was the same boy who had chosen the superior difficulty. The 4th level was cleared, and the final stage began. The protagonist murmured that he'd finally reached the last level. A boy watching from outside frowned and asked why that guy was so strong. He remembered all the top students from the local school but didn't recognize that face. Guan, thrilled after realizing she too had passed and become a Beastmaster apprentice, immediately searched for her cousin's results, only to notice that everyone was gathered around the monitor, watching his fight and marveling at his strength. She thought in awe that her cousin had passed the 4th level of the superior difficulty, something truly astonishing. Inside the dungeon, the boy muttered that it was almost over. Then, from the mist, emerged a lion, a rank 2, stage 5 beast. Gasps echoed outside as people exclaimed that this was absurd. It was practically impossible for a novice to defeat such a creature. Lin smiled faintly and said that finally a worthy opponent had appeared. The battle began. Z's eyes widened at the creature's speed as the lion charged forward with saber-like claws, slashing directly at the Ice Crystal Spirit. The supervisor leaned closer to the screen, watching intently. He thought that this time, He'd see whether the boy had any new tricks. He had to admit the kid was impressive, but this was where it would end. The protagonist stared at the beast and reflected that although his ice crystal spirit was at a higher stage than the saber-toothed lion, strength among contracted beasts didn't depend solely on rank or stage. Attributes, environment, and the Beastmaster's strategy all played decisive roles. His ice crystal spirit was weakened after 4 consecutive fights. While the saber-toothed lion was an incredibly powerful beast, its speed and strength clearly superior. This fight would be difficult. If things continued like this, he could really lose. He needed to find the perfect moment. Now, he ordered his ice crystal spirit to unleash its ice pendant barrage. The frozen shards flew toward the lion and a dense cloud of smoke filled the battlefield. Outside, spectators whispered nervously, wondering what was happening, what that light was. As the smoke cleared, everyone stared wide-eyed at the screen, stunned. The lion was sprawled on the ground, defeated. The supervisor blinked in disbelief. Could that boy really have gone toe-to-toe with a Rank 2, Stage 5 saber-toothed lion? He concluded that the boy's beast must at least be at the same level, Rank 2, Stage 5, realizing that the kid had been hiding his true strength all along. That, he thought, was the move of someone who had made his choices with careful thought. Inside the trial, the lion roared, releasing an overwhelming pressure accompanied by a deafening sound. The ice crystal spirit lowered its head, its eyes gleaming with icy brilliance as it surged forward. The lion shattered the remaining ice encasing its paws and advanced confidently, ready to strike back. The protagonist realizes that's right. The saber-toothed lion originally came from extremely cold regions, which explains its strong resistance to ice. It's simply holding back. The system then announces that a new achievement has been unlocked. The cumulative number of pet skill activations has reached 10. 100 achievement points have been earned, and the beast's skill unlock feature is now available. Lin asks what that means, and the system displays several options. Arctic Chains, a control-type skill that manipulates the ice element to condense it into powerful bindings, restraining the target's movement. Ice Shield, a defensive skill that creates a barrier of frozen energy. And Ice Nova, an area of effect attack that compresses and releases a surge of chilling power. Za is astonished. Could he really add more skills? Usually, beasts have only 2 basic ones, and the more skills they possess, the greater the variety of strategies available. His Icicle skill is his main offensive move, but it relies heavily on precision control. The domain of extreme cold covers a wide area and causes damage while offering some crowd control, but it still lacks raw power. What he needs now is a high-impact, single-target control technique. New notifications appear regarding the Arctic Chains ability, and the protagonist considers his remaining points. The lion steps forward, releasing a terrifying magical aura, and Lin orders his ice crystal spirit to level up. The spectators are confused. What is that light? Is he actually leveling up? They've never seen anyone evolve a beast without using materials. Even experienced fighters know leveling up only happens after victory, so this sight feels unreal. Meanwhile, inside the trial, Z faces his opponent. The lion charges, and the protagonist commands his spirit to activate Arctic Chains. Ice-forged tendrils rise around the lion's body, wrapping and freezing it in place. "Now's the time," Lin declares. Ice shards blast forward, striking the beast as it roars in agony. The spectators gasp, asking what kind of ability that was, and even the supervisor, stunned, wonders aloud how that beast can use 3 different skills. The battle rages on until the lion finally collapses, defeated. Zay is congratulated for clearing the level and passing the superior difficulty apprentice exam. Guan cheers, shouting that he won. "It's incredible!" The crowd murmurs in awe that he actually succeeded, saying the examiner must be speechless. The supervisor admits he never expected this outcome, remarking that he's seen countless young geniuses, but it's his first time witnessing an unknown rise to fame overnight. The protagonist's physique stat rises to 5 and his spirit from 2.8 to 7.8, officially reaching the apprentice level. Lin smiles to himself. Now this is a real superior tier promotion, an astonishing leap in strength. The system chimes again, notifying him that he can now contract a second beast. Z begins pondering what kind of creature would make the best choice and decides he'll visit the pet shop soon. Then another alert appears. From apprentice to beastmaster. Complete the qualification test, achieve your first promotion, and obtain 209 achievement points and 1 spirit stone. The rewards are issued and the test concludes. The protagonist opens his eyes to see people surrounding him, curious and amazed, asking how he pulled that off, and where that ice-type beast came from since no one had ever seen anything like it. Everyone praises him and Guan runs up to hug him from behind, saying she knew he'd succeed. The supervisor, acknowledging his performance, retracts his earlier criticism and admits that his confidence came from genuine strength, not arrogance. The onlookers whisper in disbelief. An examiner apologizing to a student is unheard of. Lin replies that he didn't take it personally. Then the supervisor invites him to join the Beast Tamer Association, explaining that they can accept him as a reserve officer with excellent benefits and generous pay, all without interfering with his Imperial Academy candidacy. He promises that once Lin graduates, he'll receive the title of Association Deacon, asking what he thinks. Guan urges her cousin to accept immediately. Only top graduates of the Imperial Beast Academy qualify to even attempt the association's exam, and competition there is fierce, like thousands of soldiers crossing a single plank bridge. The protagonist reflects that if he accepts, he won't have to worry about expenses or tuition for the next 4 years, and everyone would respect him. Yet he also knows one immutable truth of this world. There's no such thing as a free lunch. The greater the reward now, the higher the price to pay later. Furthermore, the Beast Tamer Association had far too many regulations, and he wasn't ready to give up his freedom just yet. He thanked the examiner for his kindness and said that he had thought it through clearly. He would make plans after enrolling. A boy nearby joked that if Lin didn't want the offer, he'd gladly take it himself. The supervisor stepped back with a smile, thinking that Lin was a good kid. With that rate of growth, he would soon become hundreds of times stronger than he was now, strong enough to qualify for the association's highest level benefits rather than settling for minor ones early. That's why he, Zhenwen, as he introduced himself, decided not to push further. Instead, he told Lin that if he ever changed his mind or needed anything, he could come find him anytime. Elsewhere, a voice called out for him to wait. It was Liu Xian and Zheng Xiaoyun from the neighboring class. Both asked for his contact. Liu handed him her phone and asked him to add her as a friend, saying she'd liked him from the start, and that they could play together sometime. Zhang, a bit shy, mentioned she was in the class next door. Ze said he still had something to do and hurried away while the girls shouted for him to add them. Ning immediately stepped in, pushing him away from them, just before a message popped up on his phone, summoning him to the office. There, Lin asked if she had been the one to call for him, and the teacher confirmed it, saying she'd heard he had passed the superior difficulty test. Z looked puzzled, but she suddenly hugged him excitedly, saying how wonderful that was, and that he knew she was the teacher who cared about him the most. Lin couldn't help but remember how she once scolded him harshly for failing a test. The teacher explained she had called him because she wanted to give him something, a book titled Collection of Basic Spirit Techniques, containing fundamental methods and exercises for spiritual cultivation. She told him it was one of the mandatory courses for apprentice beastmasters and that it would be wise to familiarize himself with it before entering the academy. Spiritual techniques, she explained, alongside beast control, were a beastmaster's primary means of combat. Those who mastered powerful spirit arts could even defeat wild beasts without relying on their contracted creatures, fighting solely with their own spiritual power. Moreover, these techniques could protect the body and synchronize with beasts during intense battles, preventing injuries. Enthusiastic, the protagonist said he would begin training right away, and the teacher encouraged him to come to her if he encountered any difficulties. Later, in the dormitory, Lin sat on his bed with the book open, studying the spiritual guardian technique, which created a shield of energy capable of blocking attacks from all directions, consuming spiritual power to maintain it. He decided to learn the basics now and focus on advanced techniques after enrolling in the Imperial Beast Academy. 10 minutes later, he was already cultivating. When he opened his eyes, a circle of mana shimmered around him. Lin realized he had already mastered the basic technique. An ordinary person would need days or even months to do so, but he had achieved it in just 10 minutes. Proof of how valuable his spiritual power of 7.8 truly was. The system notified that he had successfully learned a spiritual technique and awarded achievement points. Lin realized the system also recognized spiritual skills and thought that by accumulating enough points, he could enhance his abilities and save more lives. Continuing his cultivation, he noticed that his protective shield had grown clearer and larger, capable of covering 3 or 4 people at once. He calculated that each use consumed only 10 points of spiritual power, and with his current limit of 880, he could activate it 78 times in a row. Remembering the Spirit Stone he had earned for passing the Apprentice Beastmaster qualification, he decided to use it. The system notified spiritual power increased from 780 to 880. Lin smiled, thinking that with so much power, it would be wasteful to only use defensive techniques. So he decided to learn 2 more. The book described Spiritual Arrow, which required total focus of the mind to concentrate spiritual power at one's fingertips, and Spiritual Impact, which gathered that power into a fist to unleash it in a direct strike. Still seated, Z continued cultivating. Opening his eyes, he launched an attack. The system reported 10 points of spiritual power consumed. The protagonist noted that while the force wasn't great, The precision rivaled that of a skilled archer, deciding to test it again later. A strong energy formed around his arm, and Lin struck once more, consuming 30 points of power and cracking the wall. Stunned, he wondered if he was truly that strong. Soon after, the system issued new notifications. He had successfully learned 3 spiritual techniques and earned a spiritual replenishment potion, capable of instantly restoring his entire spiritual power reserve. The protagonist remarks that it's a useful item and that he should save it for critical moments. The Spirit Arrow and Spirit Impact techniques level up to Tier 2. Lin lies on his bed and decides to keep his remaining achievement points for emergencies, remembering that the next day he'll need money to buy his second contracted beast. At the mission center, the place is crowded, and Z thinks to himself that this is his first time taking on a mission to earn money. With his current strength, he's confident he can easily handle a standard-level task. The system lists several available missions: expel ghost dragonflies near Yangshan village, eliminate the fierce eagle along the highway, or clear out the deep-water demon shoal. He chooses the one with the highest reward and notes that, since he's only an apprentice beastmaster, he's been assigned to a team of 3 others for safety. Still, he feels tricked. He could have done this alone, and decides to head to Death Toll Canyon before 2 o'clock. Upon arriving, a boy greets him, saying he finally showed up. Lin greets back, and Zhang Lei says he's been waiting for a while, asking if Lin hasn't graduated yet. Zhao Mingshan frowns, surprised that an ungraduated novice was assigned to the mission. Wang Shuiyun defends him, telling Zhao not to scare the newcomer and just let him follow during the mission. Lin politely replies that he hasn't graduated yet and apologizes for any inconvenience. Wang smiles, saying he's well-mannered. Zhao mocks her, saying she's being a fool in love again, warning that the mission might be more dangerous than it looks and telling her not to die for it. Wang just mutters in annoyance. Mingshan announces that he'll serve as the temporary captain and that everyone must follow his orders once they reach the objective area, but warns that his own share of the reward will be reduced because of it. Lin observes that this group is made up of people who didn't qualify for the Imperial Beast Academy. Survivors relying on incomplete beast-taming techniques learned in middle school, taking risky jobs just to get by. Calmly, he says that rewards should be distributed according to effort. The more someone contributes, the more they deserve. A voice in the back comments that he's a sensible kid. The group then moves out, soon feeling a thick presence in the air, a strange energy spreading as monsters begin to appear. Zhao shouts for them to seal the hole and kill the beetles. Mingshan summons his horned rhino, Zhang calls his mantis, and Wang summons her fear wasp. Z stays quiet, wanting to gauge their strength before acting. The beetles swarm in huge numbers, and Zhao yells for everyone to fight to the end. The rhino charges forward, crushing enemies. Zhang orders the mantis to strike as well, while Wang, irritated, tells him not to interfere as her wasp fires poisonous needles. Several beetles surround the mantis, but the group manages to push through. Zhang laughs proudly, saying the 3 of them make a perfect team, and that Lin's job is just to stand there and shout, 666. Mingshan teases, asking if Lin still expects payment, and saying at this rate he should be paying them tuition instead. Wang jokes that when the time comes, her big sister will share a bit of her reward with him, as long as he stays behind and doesn't get hurt. The fight continues, and Lin thinks that despite their flashy attacks, they're not truly threatening the swarm. Suddenly, a shriek echoes through the canyon, and Wang asks what that sound was. The beetles stop momentarily before another flood bursts out of the hole. The adventurers tense up. Zhang warns that a second tunnel has opened, and that these beetles look different, thicker horns, tougher bodies. Lin asks if there might be a beetle king hiding deeper inside. The swarm then charges violently at the rhino, biting non-stop, while part of the horde turns toward the other beasts, attacking them as well. Zhang panics, shouting for everyone to recall their beasts immediately, or they'll all be slaughtered. Zhao yells for his rhino to retreat. Lin shakes his head and says it's useless, explaining that death beetles release a toxin that paralyzes the nervous system, so their beast can no longer hear or respond to commands. Wang grows desperate, asking what they should do now, while Zhang, furious, grabs Lin by the collar and accuses him of doing nothing, despite knowing all this, calling him worthless trash who only talks. Ze answers coldly that what he should be worrying about right now isn't his pet, but his own life. The swarm rushes toward them in a wave of wings and clicking mandibles. Zhao shouts for everyone to run, yelling that this cursed mission clearly isn't level 1. The creatures close in, their shadows swallowing the ground. Ming's eyes widen in sheer terror, until a blinding light bursts around them. A spiritual barrier spreads outward, enclosing the entire group. It was a spirit technique summoned by the protagonist. Zhang Lei becomes indignant, saying that this is a spiritual technique, something only students from the Imperial Beast Academy should know, and asks how an ordinary person could possibly do that. Lin tells him to stop talking nonsense and just watch what's about to happen. Then he summons the Ice Crystal Spirit. Everyone is astonished to see such a unique and icy creature, wondering what kind of beast it is, as none of them had ever seen anything like it before. Lin analyzes the situation and thinks that, compared to pet ranks, thise beetles would be at most rank 1 to 7. Weak individually, but dangerous in numbers and without any area of effect attacks. There's no way to face them directly, but his Ice Crystal Spirit, a rank 3 pet, has the perfect power to wipe out large groups of enemies. The pet releases an overwhelming icy aura, freezing everything around. Lin orders them to retrieve their beast before it's too late, warning that if they agree to give up the rewards, he'll help them get out alive. Zhao agrees, saying all the rewards can go to him as long as the beasts are saved and everyone escapes alive. Zhang protests, saying that the insolent boy is threatening them, and asks if he thinks he's that legendary candidate who passed the higher difficulty test. Ze calmly replies that he is. Wang, surprised, says she suspected he was different and finally understands why someone still in high school has such strength, pleading with him to save their beasts. Lei scoffs, saying words prove nothing, and challenges him to unfreeze the pets himself if he's so capable. Ming, furious, punches him and shouts that after what they've just witnessed, there's nothing left to prove. The problem is that they're too blind to recognize a mountain, even when it's right before them. The ice begins to melt, and Lin warns that time is running out, that they must retrieve their beasts and flee before the swarm awakens. Shuayun comments that so those creatures weren't exterminated, only temporarily controlled, and Lin replies that to defeat a thief, one must first capture the king. Zhang asks if he intends to go in there, and Ze simply confirms before leaping toward the hole and ordering them to follow. Inside the cave, the environment is pitch black, but Lin sees everything clearly, realizing that the enhancement of his physical aptitude also improved his vision. The air is dense and humid, and soon more beetles emerge from the ground and walls. Lin raises an energy barrier and fires volleys of ice shards, blasting enemies away. He then activates the spiritual guardian technique, destroying the rest. The barrier begins to crack under pressure, and he thinks there are too many enemies. Even with so much spiritual power, he won't be able to hold it for long. He remembers his remaining conquest points and accesses the system. 2 new abilities appear: Ice Shield, a defensive technique, and Ice Nova, an area of effect attack. He checks that he has 150 conquest points available and thinks that's just enough to learn both. The Ice Crystal Spirit quickly masters the skills. Lin analyzes that, with its control over the ice element, the pet can now move freely outside the Guardian's protection, and the Ice Nova is perfect for massive damage, though it needs to gather ambient energy before use, something that can be combined with Arctic Domain. The barrier finally shatters. At that instant, the Ice Crystal Spirit charges forward, releasing a freezing wave that covers the ground and air, immobilizing the insects. Lin shouts, "The ice element has arrived! Ice Nova!" The beast gathers power and unleashes a devastating icy explosion, a storm of cold energy sweeping through everything ahead, defeating dozens of beetles within seconds, 50 in total. The protagonist watches, impressed, saying that although the protective barrier broke, the result was absolutely explosive. When checking his status, he realizes the pet gained a large amount of experience. Lin concludes that pets evolve by fighting, and though progress is slow, this place full of beetles is perfect for leveling up. He smiles, thinking that perhaps today the Ice Crystal Spirit might break its limit and reach the next stage. A loud noise echoes. The beetles become alert, and the protagonist says it seems their king is inside. Meanwhile, outside, Wang says they need to report the danger of this mission quickly or that boy will be in trouble. Zhang asks why she even cares about him and says he's the one who went looking for trouble until someone approaches running and asking for passage. It's Luo who asks if the mission point for the death beetle is just ahead. Zhao replies that's right, the target point is just ahead, but advises against going until they notice the Bronze Beastmaster emblem, realizing he's a Bronze Beastmaster. Bronze Beastmasters rank among the top 30% in the world, Silver Beastmasters among the top 12%, and Gold Beastmasters among the top 3%. Luo confirms it, saying he's indeed a Bronze Beastmaster. The association noticed the increased difficulty of this mission and sent him to clean up the mess. She says that's great, now they'll surely succeed, and asks if she can go with him. The Bronze Beastmaster strokes her chin and says that since she's so eager to see his performance, he'll allow her to follow. As for the other two, they're not qualified to come along. Both reply that they have no intention of going anyway. Meanwhile, inside the cave, the system congratulates Lin for earning the Beast Eliminator achievement and grants 300 conquest points plus an explosive seed card. The explosive seed card instantly boosts a current pet's level temporarily. The protagonist wonders about Beast Eliminator and whether such an achievement really exists. He finds it similar to Human Eliminator, but this time with far greater rewards, something worth collecting. More notifications follow. Ice Crystal Spirit upgraded to level 3. Growth rate for Stage 3, 94%. Lin thinks it seems one step closer to the next stage, the Snow Lady. Strange noises echo, and Z realizes it's almost time to leave, until something approaches. It's a massive and terrifying monster. The protagonist is stunned by the enormous creature and thinks that, according to the mission details, the death toll beetle crisis happened a week ago, which means this guy must have evolved only recently. The giant monster roars, and Lin thinks that if he runs now, he'll earn nothing. But if he gives it his all, he might turn a bicycle into a motorcycle. Suddenly, something rushes up behind him, a stone beast charging across the ground, with Luo holding Wang in his arms as she says, "It's great their teammate is safe." Z asks why they came back. The Beastmaster demands to know why there's someone else here and tells the boy to step aside. This is too dangerous, not a place for him. This is the Death Toll Striker, the legendary Beetle King, a fourth-rank beast that appears only once in tens of thousands of death toll beetles, and has the ability to control the entire swarm. It was clear this was the one causing all the trouble. To test how he handles it, the protagonist calls out saying he came here to take this mission and not to be interfered with. This boss belongs to him. Luo asks if he even knows who he's talking to. The monster charges, roaring, and Luo declares he's a bronze beastmaster. Who the hell is he to talk like that? The giant monster lunges from behind, but Lin releases icy chains while introducing himself. The Beastmaster asks if he's the one who passed the higher difficulty trial and says it's no wonder he has some skill, but he'll say this. He passed the learning trial and, after hundreds of battles, cleared the bronze level test. Ze answers that he will too. Luo gets irritated and Wang shouts for them to stop arguing because danger is right behind them. The beetle breaks through the ice chains. The Beastmaster says it's troublesome and that he'll show the gap between them, then uses a spiritual technique. The stone monster's current power is rank 4, stage 2, and the protagonist wonders if such a spiritual technique really exists. A powerful strike is launched, causing a huge explosion. The monster crashes to the ground. Luo says that mastering high-level spiritual techniques is something not everyone can do. This is the difference between them. The fallen monster suddenly opens its eyes and attacks. The system alerts that the Death Toll Striker has entered a berserk stage. Its current combat power equals a stage 3 rank 4 threat. The Beastmaster says this guy is really tough to handle. Lin rushes forward, unleashing a spiritual impact. As the smoke clears, Z moves aside, realizing the beast is now targeting him. The monster is restrained by chains made of ice stones, but they shatter under force. The protagonist is shocked, saying those are Arctic chains. Shards of ice launch, and Luo remarks that now they're all together. The monster assumes an attack stance, unleashing massive shockwaves as smoke fills the air again, and the stone beast crashes to the ground. Wang screams for everyone to run, saying that insect is too dangerous or they'll all be wiped out right there. Luo observes and says it's a strange power. Better to spare it for now, they'll figure it out later. Lin replies that he's staying to finish it. The Beastmaster calls him insane, saying that not even the enhanced rock monster could do anything against that beetle. Ze retorts that he himself said the difference between them is mastering advanced enhancement techniques. Luo demands to know what he means and what he's trying to do. The protagonist then uses the explosive seed cards, and an intense energy begins to surge. The Beastmaster, astonished, asks if he can also enhance spiritual techniques. The Ice Beast releases an overwhelming power, and Luo exclaims that he must be joking, asking who the hell this guy is. The system notifies rank 4, stage 3, duration 60 seconds. Lin thinks 1 minute, with spiritual techniques that should be enough. The monster charges forward and Ze restrains it again with ice chains, realizing that as the ice crystal spirit's level increases, the skill's power grows far stronger than before, but control weakens, so he decides to focus on the outcome and let it rage until the end. The system warns, strengthening time remaining 40 seconds. The monster breaks the chains again, and Luo shouts for him to stop, saying that if he keeps exceeding the limits of his spiritual and life force like that, he'll end up dead. The protagonist replies that it's fine. He's only used half of his spiritual power and there's nothing to worry about. The Beastmaster says, that's impossible. Wang comments that he's a genius and that maybe they really can finish the attacker with this final strike. The monster begins to roar loudly and the Ice Beast charges, unleashing a freezing power so immense it sends the creature flying. The density of energy rises sharply and Luo remarks that it's an incredible force. Now he understands why he's never seen a pet like that before. Sho watches in awe as the Bronze Beastmaster says that in ancient times, mythical beasts fought alongside humanity, and humans gathered the 5 great elemental beasts of the old era to end the chaos. But since then, those 5 have vanished. The system notifies strengthening time remaining 30 seconds. Ze says it's time to finish these insects. The final blow. The monster starts digging into the ground, trying to escape, but the protagonist attacks again, asking if it still wants to run. Then the monster is finished off by the last strike, and the system announces, first attack on the boss, Death Toll Striker. Wang shouts that he's won and calls him her god. Luo, in disbelief, mutters that he really stole the spotlight. More notifications appear. The explosive seed card's effect has expired. Lin praises his pet, saying it did an excellent job. The system notifies Ice Crystal Spirit upgraded to Level 3, Stage 5, growth rate 100%, requires 10 advanced Ice Crystal evolution materials to complete evolution. Z thinks that it's now fully charged and only needs the materials to evolve, but that can wait until after some rest. New notifications follow. Achievement unlocked. First boss kill. Reward, 500 conquest points, 1 revitalization potion, and 1 advanced ice crystal. The protagonist thinks even evolution materials are being given. This system really is amazing. At that moment, someone taps his shoulder. It's Luo, asking if they can discuss something, and whether he'd allow the credit for the Death Toll Striker's defeat to go to him. She gets angry, asking why he's like that, saying it obviously belongs to her younger brother. The Beastmaster replies by offering 10W. Lin thinks that since the Beastmasters Association sent him to handle the mission's evaluation issue, if he doesn't complete it successfully, it will surely affect his assessment and promotion. So he clearly cares more about the mission result. For Lin, this is a good deal. After all, 10W could buy a fine new pet. Luo asks what he thinks, and Z decides not to accept right away, preferring to wait and see if he'll sweeten the deal. The Beastmaster then explains that 10W is already half a year's savings, and besides, he'll still receive the full mission reward, gaining another 5W in profit, and he'll owe him a personal favor. So he tells him to accept. The protagonist thinks that memories have no price. Lin accepts the 10W, and when he looks up, he notices something. It's the examiner, accompanied by a beast. Jen jumps down, adjusts his shirt, and Wang notices the silver badge, realizing they've just met the legendary Silver Beastmaster. The examiner says they meet again. Ze greets him, and Luo wonders if that boy really knows him. Jen remarks that it seems the mission has been completed successfully. The Beastmaster confirms, saying everything went smoothly and no one was hurt. The examiner observes that the creature they defeated must have reached at least rank 4. If he remembers correctly, the boy's pet had only been rank 2. Even for a rare genius, it must have been the combined strength of both, together with the main force that managed to bring down a rank 4 beetle. He then says this is probably the second time he's had to apologize due to the Beast Tamers Association's negligence in mission classification. Tasks originally of intermediate difficulty were marked as ordinary, which damages the association's credibility, and he sincerely hopes to be forgiven. The protagonist replies that it doesn't matter since their senior protected them well, and Luo says he's flattering him too much. She thinks that's what it means to have real class. The examiner adds that to compensate for the mistake, the association will grant 10W as compensation, and will also retrieve the monster's body for research. The Beastmaster thinks the kid is making quite a profit, and Lin remarks that it's better to be obedient than merely polite, accepting the payment and reflecting that this is more than simple compensation. It's a gesture of goodwill and money meant to demonstrate the association's stance. Refusing it could cause trouble later. He still needs resources, since he doesn't have a second pet, so that amount is an investment. The examiner says the money has already been transferred to his name and wishes him to use it wisely, also inviting him to visit the association whenever he needs help. Jen lifts the monster's corpse with one hand and takes his leave. Ze is astonished at how effortlessly he lifted it. As the other three walk out, Luo comments that he earned 20W that day. The protagonist says it's actually more of a favor, and the Bronze Beastmaster assures him he'll never forget it. She says she didn't expect to meet 2 incredible people in one day, and that the trip was worth it. She promises to train hard to become stronger and asks if, when she reaches his level, there'll still be a chance for them to take missions together. Lin encourages her to keep striving, telling her that opportunity will come. Later, Z walks along, thinking that 20W should be enough to buy a grade B pet. In a shop, the clerk greets him and asks how she can help. He replies that he wants to buy a pet, and she invites him to follow her. Going downstairs, the attendant explains that all the pets are there and he can take his time choosing. Lin observes and thinks that for an ordinary shop, grade B is probably the highest available. There are plant types like the Mushroom Child, which has no evolution route, and also flame creatures like the Fire Diabone, which possesses a hidden evolutionary path, the Furious Flame Ghost. Zell reflects that though it has a secret path, it doesn't reach the level of king grade beasts like the Snow Queen, which evolves from the hidden root of the Snowball. The clerk comments that he has a good eye, and that the little Fire Diabone is considered a rare elite grade B beast, costing 16 to W. The protagonist says that's expensive, and she explains that the price includes all evolution materials. Lin decides to keep looking and recalls that Snowball had been classified as Class F and was said to be unevolvable, but he realizes those rankings are based only on the knowledge and experience of the association's appraisers, not absolute truth. Then, the system alerts him that a pet with a hidden king-grade evolutionary root has been detected. Z thinks the creature looks familiar and the system reveals it's of the rock type, a stone monster. The normal evolution route leads to the rock giant, which increases power and defense, becoming massive and resistant to certain elements. But the hidden route leads to the rock god, returning to the ancestral lineage, awakening a trace of extraordinary divinity, and gaining the power to command earth and stone. The next form of the monster is the rock phantom, and the conditions to reach it require a 100% growth rate, 20 intermediate earth element essences, and undead dust. The protagonist thinks it's no wonder it looked familiar. Luo's pet, the giant rock monster, had evolved from this same small creature, but only through the standard route. He never imagined that this tiny being had the potential to evolve to godhood. From another perspective, he realizes that the ice crystal spirit excels in burst power and control, fitting the mage type, while the stone monster clearly belongs to the warrior type. The clerk insists he shouldn't hesitate, saying that the little stone monster is a popular choice, easy to carry and to fight with, and that its evolution materials are simple, making it inexpensive. She offers to sell it for about 8W. Lin agrees, saying it's a deal, and takes the opportunity to also request 20 intermediate earth element essences and 500 grams of undead dust. The clerk looks puzzled and asks if he plans to evolve the stone monster, explaining that such materials wouldn't be enough for that purpose, and that intermediate earth essences are far too expensive to use on a grade D beast. Z replies that no, it's just a gift, and thinks to himself that the materials cost more than the pets themselves. The clerk hands him the sealing pearl, and the system notifies that the second beast contract has been successfully established, granting conquest points. That night, back home, the protagonist looks at his new companion and thinks he needs to raise its growth rate to 100% before anything else. He activates the enhancement function, and the system confirms the consumption of 220 conquest points, upgrading the stone monster to rank 2, stage 2, with maximum growth rate. Z looks at the little creature and thinks it looks kind of dumb, but who would have guessed something like that could hide divine potential? He then tells the pet to eat all the evolution materials so it can evolve. The little monster devours everything quickly, and Lin comments that only the undead dust is left. The pet lies down exhausted, and Lin jokes, asking if it knows how much that cost and whether the seasoning was too spicy. The pet starts flailing its arms and legs, and Z remarks that it's still angry, even though it doesn't understand a thing. He then summons his ice beast and notices it seems to be recovering well. The stone pet, however, suddenly lunges to attack the other, but the ice beast slams it to the ground with a single blow, making it cry. Lin rubs his forehead, thinking it's stubborn, and the pet goes back to eating. Suddenly, the system announces that its growth rate has reached 100%. A black light spreads, accompanied by lightning, and the stone pet undergoes a drastic transformation. Zhe is amazed and wonders if Luo never realized the stone monster could evolve into that. The creature looks at him with a threatening expression, and Lin asks what it intends to do. The rock pet attacks fiercely, causing a massive impact. The ice beast reacts, leaping forward to meet the strike. When the smoke clears, the rock pet looks confused. The ice beast had raised a shield and completely blocked the blow. Lin comments on the wall and says that a friendly spar is fine, but disobeying orders and attacking on its own deserves correction. The system then notifies that the ice crystal spirit has met the conditions to evolve, and Z says he'll show who's in charge here. New notifications appear. 10 advanced ice crystal materials have been consumed. The mana surrounding the beast intensifies. The pressure in the room rises, and it evolves even further. Its abilities also change. The ice pendant transforms into ice shower, summoning condensed ice blades above the battlefield that fall like a destructive cascade, and the ice shield evolves into crystal mirror, maintaining defense while adding counterattack capability. The protagonist observes and comments that even the skills have been upgraded. The rock pet notices something strange and realizes its feet are frozen in place. Lin commands the ice maiden to unleash ice shower, and countless frozen shards rain down on the pet. When it's over, the stone monster collapses, defeated. Z declares that since it has signed a contract and become his pet, it must obey completely. If it can't control its rebellious nature, he won't hesitate to eliminate it, asking if it's convinced. The rock pet stands up and bows before him. Lin smiles, satisfied, saying that's better and not to repeat the mistake. But suddenly, a loud crash echoes. He opens the door and sees the burly man from the building, who asks what the hell he's doing at that hour and if he has any idea what happened to the apartment wall. Z apologizes, saying he was just working out and promises to compensate the neighbor. The big man crosses his arms and replies that this isn't the first or second time it's happened, demanding compensation for emotional damage too, at least 30W. The protagonist is shocked and asks if he heard that right. 30W? The man confirms and says he wants the money in 3 days or else he'll deal with him personally. At that moment, the rock pet walks up, raising its fist, making the big man go pale with fear. Lin quickly orders it to stop, and the man, trembling, asks if that's his pet and what kind of monster it is. Z apologizes again, explaining that his little brother is still poorly trained and scared him by accident, then asks if they can consider the debt settled. The big man, shaking from head to toe, says to forget it, that a real man doesn't bother with such small matters and leaves in a hurry. Later that night, the protagonist sleeps peacefully beside his 2 pets. The next morning, the ringing phone wakes him up. When he answers, he hears Guan's voice reminding him that today is the entrance exam for the Jiangning Imperial Beast Academy and asking if he forgot, telling him to meet them at the school gate. Shortly after, at the entrance, Ning waves and says he finally showed up. Some students comment that he's late for such an important event, implying he thinks too highly of himself just because he passed the higher difficulty test. Suddenly, the teacher appears and lightly hits him on the head, scolding him for sleeping in again. Z explains that he's been very tired lately, and she asks if he at least practiced his spiritual techniques. Ning watches the scene, puzzled by how close the two seem. The teacher then addresses the class, saying that everyone there represents the elite among elites of Pinghai No. 1 High School, and that the entrance exam for Jiangning Imperial Beast Academy will be much stricter this time, hoping each of them has given their all. She adds that whether they pass or not, they'll still be good students, and she'll be waiting for good news. The students shout that they'll do their best, and the protagonist smiles excitedly. On the bus to the city, a voice asks why he's been missing and hasn't replied to messages. Lin thinks he's been so busy with tasks that he forgot to check his phone and replies that he's been working hard lately. Guan says that's fine and shares that her fierce magic bird has finally evolved, asking if that's amazing. Z praises her and says that with that she'll have no trouble with the exam. When they arrive in Jiangning, Ning looks out the window, awed by the city's size and beauty. The protagonist feels embarrassed when she leans too close, her chest almost touching him. Realizing it, she quickly backs away, blushing while the others laugh. Standing before the Imperial Beast Academy, many admire the majestic gate and comment on how grand the place looks, saying studying there would be the peak of their lives. Suddenly, a voice orders everyone to make way. Li Peng Yun arrives, announcing the arrival of 17 students from Qinping High School. Soon after, Guo reports the arrival of 21 students from Kangxia School, ranked 3rd. One of the girls turns to Ning, the class leader, and tells her not to lose to them. Guan smiles at her brother, steps forward, and proudly announces that 2 students from Pinghai No. 1 High School have come to register. A boy nearby mocks them, saying they're just country bumpkins, as Pinghai City is far more remote compared to Kangxia and Qinping. Then a man leaps into the center, introducing himself as Qin He, the teacher in charge of registration. He congratulates everyone on completing the test successfully but warns them not to be overconfident, since the Academy's admission difficulty is much higher than that of the Beastmaster test. He explains that, based on previous records, the elimination rate reaches 80%, meaning only 10 candidates will be accepted. A gray-haired boy protests, saying that if that's the case, no one from Pinghai No. 1 will pass. A girl scolds him for his rude comment, and Guo asks who else thinks they have what it takes to get in. The girl looks at Lipeng and admits he's strong, but then glances curiously at the protagonist, saying there's something strange about him. Guo asks Xinyi what's wrong, but she brushes it off, saying it's nothing, while Shi notes that Lin's power is unfathomable. Guo concludes that he's just a country boy and that Pinghai No. 1's level is beneath theirs, so there's nothing to worry about. Qin explains that everyone must check in at the Academy's hotel to stay overnight and wishes them a good rest, asking them to prepare well for the coming exam days. He also informs them that the Academy cafeteria provides free meals throughout the test period and that the food is excellent, so they can enjoy their free time. One of the girls says she's starving, and Guan calls her brother to go eat. They head together to the cafeteria. The blonde boy, staring at Ning, murmurs that she's really beautiful and that her big chest is unbelievable. The red-haired boy scolds him, telling him to keep his voice down and not embarrass Qinping School, though he admits he finds her attractive too. Guan tells her brother he should eat more, and the protagonist, with a plate full of chicken, replies that it's enough. Liu jokes that there's not enough food for 2 and asks why he doesn't share a bit. Xiao laughs and says he's cute and that the 2 of them look like a couple. Guan blushes and tells them to stop joking. The blonde notices 2 girls near Z and comments that he seems to have even more admirers. The redhead asks why he's so popular when he's not even as handsome as himself. At that moment, a boy approaches and asks if he can sit with them. Ning waves and tells him to join the group. The boy introduces himself as Zhou Xiong from Qinping High School. The protagonist asks what he wants. Zhou replies that he heard a Pinghai High School student pass the higher difficulty test and wanted to know if he's here this time. Zhang asks why he's curious, and Liu comments that if he hasn't even taken the exam yet, he's probably trying to gather information. Zhou laughs and says no, he just wants to make friends, because for ordinary people like him who don't stand out, intelligence is the best trump card to have a chance in the exams, and he's good at that. Ning stares at him and says she has nothing to talk about. Zhou begs her not to be so cold and explains he's not bragging. Among the candidates who came, he knows well who truly has talent. He then begins to name some people. First, the leader of Qinping School, Li Pengyun, a well-known high school student who passed the high-level assessment 2 months ago. His pet is a rank 3 venomous ivy plant. Yun's eyes widen, astonished that a high school student owns such a high-rank beast. And Zhou explains he forgot to mention that Li's family is influential in the region and supported him with high-level evolution materials. Xian remarks that he's a wealthy second-generation genius and that rank 1 beasts stand no chance against him. Guan thinks of her own fierce magic bird, which is only rank 2, stage 7, realizing the gap. Zhou continues that the girl with the twin ponytails is Xin Yi from Kangxia, known for being troublesome, but who, despite contracting her first pet only in her 3rd year, managed to pass the advanced level assessment within a month. Her pet is a young steel-patterned dragon, rank 2. Liu is stunned, saying it's impossible to reach stage 8 of rank 2 in half a year, but Yun suggests perhaps she already had a high-stage pet when she signed the contract, since if spiritual power is high enough, it's possible to domesticate stronger creatures directly. Xin looks confused, glances at the protagonist, and winks, leaving him stunned. Zhou goes on to say there's another notable candidate in Kangxia, Tan Yong, owner of a dual-element affinity beast. The two girls gape, and Guan recalls the teacher explaining that dual-element beasts are rare and usually live in extremely dangerous areas, making them almost impossible to domesticate. Lin thinks that, if he remembers correctly, the rock phantom is a fusion of ghost and rock types, and concludes that such a combination is worth developing. Zhou finishes, saying he's told all he knows, and asks if he can speak about the student who passed the higher difficulty test. Liu asks whom he means, and Z replies that person didn't come today and no one there knows him. Zhou, sensing the unease, says it's fine and won't insist. He stands and leaves, thinking the real candidate could be among them and that they seem to be hiding something. Passing by some boys, he murmurs he'll test that fellow later. Liu, intrigued, asks why Z didn't tell the truth and whether it's really something to be ashamed of. The protagonist answers it's better to be discreet because he doesn't want to become a target so soon, and admits Zhou's information might be true. Guan thinks her brother is really clever. They stand and start walking. Ning says they'll train together that night and mustn't lose to the other high school students. Guan calls his partner and suggests the 4 of them stay together. Lin imagines being surrounded by women. Suddenly, the gray-haired boy slaps Ning's butt and asks if they can go to her room later. The boy grins, and Guan quickly tries to hit him, but he grabs Guan's hand and says it's hot, claiming he likes it. His friends start laughing. The protagonist approaches with a cold expression and tells him to let go. Ning thinks that if he fights there, he'll surely be punished and asks him to drop it. The boy says the girls from his school are very beautiful and that all men are weak. Without thinking, Lin punches him squarely in the face. His friends worry about Zhu Rui and take fighting stances, ready to brawl. Ze says they can say whatever they want about him, but asks if they need to threaten his sister. The 2 boys are frightened, and the protagonist states he won't let him go unpunished. Shu releases his mana and proposes a contest right then, but someone grabs his hand and tells him to stop. It's Li Peng who scolds him and orders him not to embarrass everyone there. Then Li Peng says that punch was quite strong and should count as disregarding the score. The protagonist replies that the matter isn't over yet. Yun declares that she'll teach that guy a lesson when she gets back, but if he still has complaints, he can come to her dorm. The 2 glare at each other with killing intent, and Guan calls his brother to leave. Lin says he'll see him at the exam, while Lu leaves cheering that he's just too handsome. Li Peng smiles sinisterly, thinking that it seems it's him. That night, the bathroom is full of foam. The girls are in the bathtub, and Ning asks why they have to squeeze in together. Liu answers that of course it's to thank them for helping during training. Xiao Yun comments that their pets also reach the 2nd level, which gives them better chances of winning, and says she can give them a massage as thanks. Guan complains and tells her to stop touching randomly. Elsewhere, people gather, and Qin announces that before anything, he'll give some good news. Based on the analysis of past performances, the level of this year's first batch of candidates leads to the conclusion that they are the worst class of students, and no expectations are placed on them. Liu asks what's good about that news. Shu says she's the one holding them back, and Xian, irritated, warns him not to let her find him after the exam. The teacher explains that the next test will still take place in the illusion of the origin stone tablet with no difficulty selection, and it's called the Secret Forest. He adds that after everyone sits in meditation and enters the illusion, they'll have a scoring panel on their arms that increases points based on the number of fierce beasts defeated. Level 1 beasts are worth 10 points, level 2 20 points, and higher levels 40 points. Sometimes you are both the hunter and the prey. If the pet or the candidate dies in the illusion, they'll be considered eliminated. There is also a stone tablet at the center of the secret forest showing the scores and coordinates of the top 10 on the leaderboard. In fact, there are rank 3 beasts around, meaning anyone who encounters one will be eliminated instantly. The competition lasts 4 hours, and at the end, the 10 candidates with the highest scores will be admitted. Yun asks if they can only eliminate fierce beasts, and Chin replies that it's a good question since eliminating other candidates makes the winner receive all of their points. People are outraged, saying it's a cruel rule that encourages them to kill each other, and comment that if they unite to hunt down rivals from that other school, they'll surely make it to the top 10. Tan says they can now go all out. Shin observes the protagonist and he tells everyone to shut up, saying the real battlefield is far more brutal than this, and anyone who wants to give up can speak now. He also warns that the first place on the leaderboard will receive the title of freshman leader and many privileges after admission, and he wants to see who will be king among the new students. Ning thinks it would be great if she could find her brother. Even if she doesn't make the top 10, she can still help him. Lin calls her and tells her that when she enters the illusion, she should use the flying ability of her fierce magic bird to find him as quickly as possible and regroup. Guan smiles, and the teacher orders everyone to sit quietly and enter the illusion. Z appears in a forest, observes the stone tablet, and looks at the watch on his arm, which shows 3 hours and 59 minutes remaining. The protagonist realizes that the information on the arm only shows the current score, but not whether he's in the top 10, meaning everyone will eventually go to the central stone tablet to check the ranking, making it likely the most dangerous area in the later stages. The most crucial point is that if he doesn't go to the tablet and just blindly accumulates points, even if he's among the top 10, the coordinates will still be displayed, attracting other players' siege. It seems the true purpose of this exam is to make participants fight each other, and as long as they're strong enough, they can completely ignore the rules since no one takes points from the strong and the weak end up losing theirs. But it's just a game. Happiness matters most. Until an attack approaches, a two-headed forest python level 1, stage 9. The protagonist automatically activates a barrier and decides that for safety, he'll keep his spirit guardian active since it won't consume much spiritual power anyway. The rock ghost is summoned, and Lin decides to hide his strength for now, using this chance to test the true potential of this creature and see if developing dual attributes was worth it. The ghost faces the python, but Z orders it to stop chasing, since a rank 1 stage 9 beast is only worth 10 points while having power almost equal to a rank 2 stage 1 worth 20 points, making it a major disadvantage to eliminate higher stages within the same rank. Since it's only a test, he decides to challenge even stronger and fiercer creatures. The protagonist feels a bit uneasy, wondering whether Guan will be able to find him successfully, and hopes everything goes well. Meanwhile, Ning is with her beasts, looking at the watch on her arm and noticing that 3 hours and 45 minutes remain, with 30 points accumulated. Guan orders her fierce bird to fly, and Ning wonders where her brother is. A strange sound echoes, and Guan's eyes widen. In the forest, warriors run from monsters, and Ning thinks that since pets can't stray too far from their owners, it's best to take her chances. With her brother's strength, it shouldn't be hard for him to make it into the top 10. Maybe she can find him through the coordinates on the stone tablet. Suddenly, an ostrich appears from behind. Guan notices and jumps aside as the bird charges forward. After dodging, Ning recalls from the pet guide that the golden-backed ostrich is rank 2, stage 5, probably weaker than her fiery magic bird, rank 2, stage 7. 20 easy points guaranteed. But before she can act, the ostrich is struck. Confused, Ning asks who's there and sees only a boomerang returning. It's Shu, accompanied by his pet Odo, a humanoid-type beast of rank 2, stage 4. Rui says it's quite the coincidence to meet again, and Guan asks if he doesn't find it shameful to steal kills. Shu replies that the rules don't forbid it and that he doesn't plan to just steal kills but everything, ordering Odo to defeat the bird. Odo lunges forward. Ning shouts for her bird to dodge, and the boomerang grazes past. Rui appears behind her, covers her mouth, and says she dodged well, but now she can't give commands to her fiery magic bird anymore. Unlike ordinary beasts, humanoid ones possess higher intelligence and can act of their own will, using the enemy's commands as distractions. Odo grabs the bird's wings, and Shu comments that before eliminating her, he'll enjoy the situation a bit. Elsewhere in the forest, the protagonist checks the remaining time. He has 40 points. The rock ghost has just taken down a boar. Lin notices something, and the system notifies him that a big-mouthed monster is devouring a huge clawed ape. Xiang observes and says those points look easy, so they shouldn't hold back. He's at 60 points when someone calls out to him. Ze greets him and Xiang recognizes him, saying they met at the cafe. The protagonist confirms, thinking that guy probably still doesn't know his identity. Since he holds a lot of information, perhaps he can take advantage of it. Xiang looks at the creature and says it's amazing, asking if it's a rare beast and why he's never seen one like it. He thinks that this boy isn't the one who cleared the higher difficulty, since, according to reports, the real one used an ice-type beast. Lin replies that his isn't rare, just an ordinary grade D beast evolved to stage 2. Zhou remarks that then he must take a closer look at that big-mouthed, rare, strange monster, already upgraded to rank 2, stage 7. Zeb praises him and Xiang proposes a partnership, saying that if they work together, he guarantees they'll make it into the top 10. The protagonist happily agrees, thinking it's perfect, while Zhou thinks the boy's a fool, willing to help him rack up points, and once he's no longer useful, he'll just eliminate him and take them all. Deeper in the forest, Guan grabs Zhu's arm and slams him to the ground. Rui feels a sharp pain, eyes widening as he senses her overwhelming energy. Ning says that last time her brother acted before she could, and asks if he thinks she'll let him go so easily. The fiery magic bird unleashes mana toward Odo, and Zhu screams for help. But Odo trembles before the bird's crushing energy and flees in terror. Rui yells for the beast to come back, but Odo doesn't even listen, running away in panic, and Guan comments that it seems the creature has a will of its own, which is never a good sign. Desperate, Shu pleads that she not hit where her brother did last time. Moments later, in the same place, Rui lets out a scream of pain. Ning checks her score panel and notices her points have increased, realizing Zhu's points have been added to hers. On the ranking board, Lai Peng is in first place, Guo second, Lu Gong third, Ning fourth, and Zhou fifth. The teacher observes and thinks that contrary to his expectations, this batch of candidates isn't so bad. Within less than an hour, someone already surpassed the 100-point mark. In the middle of the forest, Yun walks and comes across a striped tiger, a fierce beast, rank 3, stage 1. Li Peng stands beside his pet, a poisonous ivy demon, plant type, rank 3, stage 3. The tiger charges to attack, but the demon reacts first, launching its tendrils. The tiger lifts it and tries to swallow it whole, but Yun tells her beast to stop playing around. It's time for the next match. Suddenly, the tiger's eyes widen as it senses an abnormal energy, and it instantly bursts into a cloud of blood. The demon completely annihilated it with a single strike. Stepping over the beast's body, the demon releases another surge of energy, ending the hunt, and Lai Peng smiles in satisfaction as his points rise to 210. On the scoreboard, the positions remain unchanged, and the remaining time drops to 2 hours and 39 minutes. Tan remarks that, as expected, she's already in second place. Shin complains that he gave up all the fierce beasts along the way and still has 0 points, wondering if that's even normal. Yang replies that all they have to do is hunt the people on the list to earn enough points. Yi asks who they should start with, and Tan says that Li Peng Yun is still too risky for now, so it's better to target Lu's gang from their own school and the girl Guan Ning. Shin recalls a talented guy named Lin, but notices his name doesn't appear on the board. Yang comments that this so-called talent probably just cheated somehow, a guy with an empty reputation, and tells them to move out. Guan isn't far. In the eastern part of the forest, Ning flies on her bird and thinks that to the left there's a wind-cutting mantis, and to the right, a man-eating plant. She wonders which way to go to find her brother. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Xiang walks beside the protagonist with their pets. Ahead, they spot a living sapling, rank 4, stage 2. Zhou says to leave it to him and promises to help later, though secretly planning to steal the final blow and take all the points once the other is about to win. The rock ghost rushes forward and crushes the sapling with a single punch. Xiang freezes, torn between embarrassment and frustration, unable to believe it was over in one hit. The remaining time shows 2 hours and 20 minutes, and Lin now appears in 9th place. Qin watches the panel, thinking that Ze is the boy who supposedly passed the highest difficulty test, jumping from 33rd to 9th in less than 2 hours. Makes sense. He's clearly working in a duo. Still annoyed, Xiang complains that they agreed he'd attack first and not be left empty-handed, asking to at least share some of the points. The protagonist apologizes, explaining that since the exam directly affects academy admission, he always commands his ghost to fight at full strength in every battle. He adds that if the other wants points too, the next one will be his. Zhou thinks the boy's getting too full of himself and that in the end, he'll be the one laughing after killing him and taking his points. Just then, the system alerts that a rare point has been detected in the current area. Lin wonders if rare means more points. They move ahead until they come across a massive tree trunk. Xiang is impressed, saying it's a genuine golden tree and must be worth tons of points, until suddenly something grabs him. Roots coil tightly around his body, revealing a grotesque face. It's a dried golden beast, plant type, rank 3, stage 4. Joe identifies it and orders his pet to attack to save him, but the big-mouthed beast also gets ensnared by the roots. Xiong feels his spiritual energy draining rapidly and yells at his partner not to just stand there and help him. Ze reminds him they agreed the next beast would be his. Joe tries to argue, saying this creature isn't like the others. They need to join forces. The protagonist replies not to interfere, saying he trusts himself and will handle it alone. Desperate, Xiong shouts for him to wait, begging for help, and Lin says he'll help, but asks what he'll offer in return. Joe fumes inside, wondering how he dares to blackmail him, swearing that once he's saved, that kid will pay dearly. Out loud, he says he has valuable information about the others and will share it if he helps him now. Ze says he'll consider it and tells him to speak quickly. In a panic, Xiong yells that it's about the unique soul techniques of Lipeng Yun and Guo Xin Yi, pleading to be rescued first. The protagonist grows curious. Soul techniques? Could it be related to soul wheel enhancement abilities? That's valuable intel. Lin orders the stone ghost to use the crushing blow aim on the creature's abdomen. The ghost charges, and the golden tree raises its roots to strike. It slices through several of them and goes for the hit, but the roots twist back together, binding it tightly. Lin realizes his rank 2 stage 9 beast is facing a golden rank 3 stage 9 monster, a massive gap. He can't break it by force. His only choice is to secretly summon the Snow Maiden and end this quickly. Z watches the ghost trembling and shouts, taunting it, asking if that's all it's got and ordering it to break free. The tree retaliates by unleashing even more roots, wrapping them tightly around the stone ghost's body. A bright light flashes and Xiong, nearly fainting, screams that he's being completely drained. The teacher, watching the scoreboard, wonders what kind of power that boy, who passed the highest difficulty test, truly possesses. In the forest, the rock ghost releases a cloud of smoke and breaks free from the bindings, revealing its phantom form. Lin is stunned, and Xiong asks what that is. The protagonist realizes that the dual attribute form brings special abilities and wants to see how far this one can go. The tree roars and sends out new roots, but now they're useless. Z sees that the rock ghost in its phantom form ignores all physical attacks since it has no material body. It's invulnerable and even stronger. He commands, use stone bullet throw, aim for the eyes and the stomach. The ghost channels energy and fires the attack, hitting hard, knocking the golden tree down and freeing Xiong and his pet. However, Lin notices that even with that much damage, the level gap is still too great. The attack wasn't enough to finish the creature. Joe yells for him to run and asks why he's just standing there, thinking that if the boy dies, all those points will go to waste. Lin looks back and the tree opens a monstrous mouth ready to swallow everything. Z calls forth the Snow Maiden, who appears floating in a cold, radiant glow. The ice spirit unleashes freezing blasts while the rock ghost reappears in solid form and lands a crushing blow. The maiden keeps firing ice, and the ghost switches forms, dodging every counterattack. Lin shouts that it's not over yet and orders a thorn impact. The strike pierces through the trunk, shattering the golden tree into pieces. The system confirms the golden beast's elimination and displays the rock ghost's updated stats. Lin analyzes and understands. The phantom form doubles its combat power and consumes more energy, but the trade-off is worth it. The ability leveled up mid-battle, truly worthy of the king-class path. He smiles, calling it a great victory. His score climbs to 180 points, with 1 hour and 20 minutes remaining. The teacher, seeing the data, is in disbelief, especially because of the new ice pet that appeared. If he's not mistaken, that's a beast with divine potential, and he wonders how that boy managed to obtain something like it. In the forest, Lin thinks that rare rank 3 beasts yield a lot of points, and that there's no reason to hide anymore. Xiong approaches, shocked, asking if he really defeated that creature and who the woman beside him is, wanting to know if she's a candidate and from which school. Lin realizes he forgot to conceal the Snow Maiden and that he can't keep pretending now. Joe, confused, says he doesn't understand what's going on. She looks like a humanoid ice beast, and she's the one who defeated the golden tree. So if she's also a fierce beast, why would she fight another? Or is she the pet of someone nearby? He concludes that it makes no sense. Terrified, Xiong asks if her master might be the legendary Lin, and says that if he's the one who took down the golden beast, then his strength surpasses theirs, and they'll surely be next to be eliminated. Ze, a bit nervous, orders through the system for the Snow Maiden to pretend to attack them. The ice spirit looks confused but obeys, and Xiong retreats, trembling, saying she's watching them. Ice shards shoot forward, and Joe panics, shouting that they're really going to attack, thinking that if both of them die here, it'll be a huge loss. In his mind, he decides that if he gets the chance, he'll kill the boy beside him and then escape. In the blink of an eye, his pet swallows the protagonist whole. Confused, Lin wonders why it swallowed him. Xiong awkwardly tries to cover it up, saying it was obviously to protect him. The protagonist, sharp as ever, tells his beast that everything's fine now and orders them to stand down. Joe, sweating and exhausted, breathes a sigh of relief, thinking he barely escaped, gained points, and should be safe now, and asks if Lin's okay. Inside the barrier, Lin replies sarcastically, asking what could possibly happen to him and if he can come out now. Xiong tells him to wait, saying something is still chasing them from behind, and noting that the creature hasn't digested him. Suddenly, the big-mouthed beast spits Lin out. Joe, startled, asks how he got out, and the protagonist jokes that maybe it was indigestion, adding that he figured if the creature kept chasing, they could team up to defeat it. Xiong thinks he's a complete idiot. Lin comments that there doesn't seem to be any more danger, and asks if he'll now talk about the exclusive spirit technique. Joe says they should first head to the stone monument to see if there was in the top 10 and talk along the way. As they walk, Xiong explains that what they call an exclusive spirit technique is actually a unique ability that only a few beastmasters with extreme talent can awaken. It's a spiritual technique impossible to learn from books, as it depends on the beastmaster's own physical constitution. And because it's so rare, a few teachers even know about it. Lin asks what the exclusive techniques of Guo and Lipeng are. Xiong points ahead, saying the scoring monument is right there. On the board, Lipeng leads, Guo is in second, and Lin appears in fifth. Joe comments that it's as he expected. His name isn't at the top yet, but with 1 hour remaining and the 10th place only having 100 points, he can still catch up. Xiong calls out to him, then widens his eyes as he sees the numbers. 180 points. He can barely believe that kid has that many. Ze's name jumps to 4th place, and Joe asks what his name is. Lin calmly replies, and Xiong, suspicious, remembers that anyone who passes the higher difficulty test can have 2 pets. That boy hid his power the entire time, and that ice beast was his too. Now he can only think of one thing: defeating him. Lin meets his gaze and reminds him that if it weren't for him, he'd have been eliminated by the dried golden beast, demanding that he keep his promise and reveal what he knows. Joe refuses, telling him not to dream of it, and orders his big-mouthed beast to crush him. The stone ghost charges, the snow maiden is summoned and takes an offensive stance, and Xiong collapses to the ground in fear. Lin coldly says that even if his points aren't many, they're still worth as much as a rare rank 3 beast, so he'll gladly take them. Joe screams in desperation, begging to be spared and promising to talk, but Lin smiles and says he's changed his mind. After all, whatever exclusive spirit techniques they have are useless to him since none of them are his equal. Xiong asks what he means by equal, and Lin thinks that none of them can compare to him. He orders the Snow Maiden to attack. Joe screams, but before the strike lands, a blast of energy pierces through him. Lipeng appears, striking him down and saying he's been waiting for Ze for a long time. Xiong shouts for him to watch out for the ice beast, and Lin thinks he hadn't expected to run into that guy here, but it seems it's time to settle what was left unfinished. Yoon smiles and says he can rest in peace now. Joe, collapsed, mutters that his points were stolen by the boss, and that at least it wasn't a complete loss. Smoke spreads, and Xiong vanishes within it. Lipeng now has 430 points. Yoon faces him and tells him to show his true power, saying she'll prove who deserves first place among the new students. Lin replies that he's not interested in the title of best freshman. If he wants it, he can have it. Lipeng laughs and says that sounds like admitting defeat, that he didn't expect him to be such a coward, and vows that after defeating him, he'll wipe out everyone else at the top. Guo, Tan, Lu, and Guan. No one will escape. He says the pleasure of destroying them all is addictive. Lin immediately thinks of Guan, Tan, and Guo, realizing Ning is in danger, and rushes eastward. Yoon sees his movement and yells for her demon to block him. The creature lunges forward, sending out vines that wrap around the stone ghost. Z raises his shield, and the demon coils around the barrier, trying to crush it. Lipeng laughs mockingly, saying it's easier than he thought, calling him a clown with nothing but a name. Yoon orders the demon to drain all his energy and taunts him to try running again if he dares. The protagonist mutters in annoyance that he doesn't have time to play games. The Snow Maiden is summoned. Lipeng barely has time to react before he's completely frozen. The demon tries to strike back but is frozen solid too, and the rock ghost emerges right after, shattering the ice and crushing the creature. Lin repeats coldly that he already said he doesn't have time for games. The ice begins to melt, but the demon is already reduced to fragments. At that moment, a blond young man appears, watching the scene, remarking that the man's vitality is impressive. Even after all that, he still isn't finished. He smiles and quotes a proverb. Like a sculptor carving wood, the grasshopper catches the cricket, but the sparrow waits behind. Saying the boy forgot to finish the fight, he decides to seize the golden opportunity. It's Lu Gong from the rival group. He declares that from now on, Lipeng's points will be his. His pet is an iron-armored dragon, rank 2, stage 9, and Lu orders it to attack Yun directly. He figures Li Peng's beast might have a revival ability, so to avoid risks, he must eliminate the master first. The dragon charges and strikes Li Peng's frozen body, and Lu remarks that, after all, luck is also a form of strength. Looking at the panel on his arm, he's puzzled that his points haven't increased until he feels something behind him. Before he can react, he's violently struck. Li Peng is alive, having fused with the body of his own demon. Lu, confused, shouts in disbelief, demanding to know what's happening. Yun replies coldly that this is his exclusive spiritual technique, synchronized mimicry. Lu orders his dragon to attack, but the demon, now under Li Peng's control, has already overpowered it and begins tearing it apart. Meanwhile, Lin moves swiftly through the trees, thinking that if Guo or Tan dare lay a hand on his sister, none of them will leave alive. On the other side of the forest, 3 people watch. Jin with his young steel-scale dragon, rank 2, stage 8, Guan trapped inside a water barrier, and Tan beside her with his necromancer beast, rank 3, stage 2, a water-type ghost spirit. Yang comments that the necromancer's water prison can't be broken from within, and that if they leave her trapped there, they can take Guan's points, giving the necromancer the chance to become the new class leader. Yi teases, asking if it's because the girl's too pretty and he can't bring himself to attack her. But Tan answers coldly that he has no interest in other women. Shin suggests patience, saying they should wait a little longer before making a move. Yang asks what they're waiting for, and Yi thinks they're just waiting for the big fish to take the bait. A sound cuts through the air, something approaches fast. Tan reacts immediately, activating his water shield as the young dragon counterattacks. Lin bursts into view, shouting their names and demanding they release Guan at once. Shin widens his eyes upon seeing 2 beasts at Lin's side, and Guan, still trapped, is shocked, but quickly refocuses, warning him to be careful since the enemies are strong. Lin assures her he'll save her right now. Yang asks if he's the guy who passed the super difficulty test, and Yi confirms, saying it makes sense. She sensed something unusual about him from the start. Tan remarks that they'll see how strong he really is once they fight, and Shin warns that this man isn't ordinary. Yang declares that if they defeat him and take his points, they'll be the new class leaders, and if they lose, they'll just collect what's left afterward. Tan orders his necromancer to trap him, and the creature summons a prison of water around him. Z moves his hand, releasing a soul force impact, and Tan's eyes widen in shock at its power. The rock ghost charges, but Yang raises a water pillar, trapping it again inside the prison, shouting for everyone to focus on one target first. Lin activates the ghost spirit form, allowing his beast to break free and launch an earthen spike toward the enemies. The necromancer responds by shifting into its spiritual form as well. Tan laughs, saying his necromancer is also a ghost-type spirit, immune to physical attacks. Shin warns him to look behind, and Yang is struck by a direct blow. The stone ghost approaches, creating a spiritual clone, and Lin remarks it's a pity. They aren't immune to spiritual attacks. Enraged, Tan orders the necromancer to use Spirit Seal of Termination. The seal activates with a deafening hum, and Z frowns, thinking this guy is really annoying. He commands the Snow Maiden to join the fight and orders the necromancer to revert to its normal form or be destroyed. Yang laughs arrogantly, saying so this is the genius everyone talks about, and that's all he's got? The protagonist tells him to shut up and says now he'll show his true power. Shin's eyes widen as a brilliant light bursts forth, and Yi remarks that this man clearly isn't someone they can handle. If they keep fighting, they'll be eliminated. Shin tells her to wait a moment. Maybe they can still negotiate. Lin asks, negotiate? And Yi nods, saying they'll all make it into the top 10 anyway, so there's no reason to keep fighting. They'll soon be classmates. The Snow Maiden raises her hand to strike, and Shin orders his partner to free the girl immediately. Tan warns that if they're allowed to join forces, things will get even worse for them. Yi agrees, and Yang concedes, saying fine, she's the leader, and cancels the water prison. Guan is freed along with her bird and thanks her brother for saving her. Z tells her not to worry. As long as he's there, no one will dare touch her, and adds that even if they're eliminated, he can still save his sister, so her offer doesn't satisfy him. Tan grows irritated, saying everyone's ganging up on him. Shin offers something more appealing, an exclusive spiritual technique that can use his sensitivity to help Lin unlock a unique ability. The protagonist admits that's a very tempting offer. Yang protests that there's no need to help that fool. But then Tan notices something and his eyes widen. Yi smiles, and a voice declares that they should count him in too. Lin realizes the other one is still alive. Li Peng states that everyone has gathered at the perfect moment, and now he can get rid of them all at once. Yang retorts that it'll be one by one. This is starting to disgust him. Shin suggests they join forces to claim first place. Z thinks the situation is getting out of control. 10 minutes remain. The professor, fearing the loss of potential talents, decides to intervene and gives them 10 minutes to calm down. Yang asks if his partner isn't going to help the boy and suggests using Li Peng to hold him back while they escape. Yi apologizes, saying she really wants to help, and Tan speculates that maybe the girl has a crush on him, promising to get everyone out. Yoon orders them to fight already until a voice interrupts saying there's no need to fight anymore. They've been accepted, but will face a special, challenging mission. A portal opens and 4 people step out along with the other adventurers. A voice explains that their abilities far surpass those of the new recruits, and that they must now show their limits. These 4 are second-year students of intermediate level who will fight them. If any freshman wins, they'll receive a unique baptism. If they lose, their admission will stand. Guan protests that it's unfair, they aren't officially freshmen yet, and reminds them they've already gone through 50 battles with their pets exhausted. The protagonist calls for everyone to come to him. Li Peng comments that since he couldn't eliminate him, they'll be classmates soon and have plenty of chances to fight later. Tan curses him and says they should first survive the match against the second years. Shin asks if they're allies now and smiles, while Ning still hesitates. Lin thinks about the baptism reward. It boosts both physical strength and soul power. He notes they sent 4 opponents against 5 freshmen, probably underestimating them, and says that if Yi wants to ally with them, she'll have to join his sister and face one of the second years together. Both girls agree to fight alongside him. Zeb places his hand on his partner's head and decides to take on one of the second years alone. If the others pair up, they'll have a better chance of victory. Z asks if they've decided who will fight him, and Lin replies that if they all want to attack together, he can handle it. Tan asks to let his necromancer be the one to fight, seeing it as a chance to prove himself against Guo. Tao praises his courage but warns him not to make reckless attacks. Z summons his wind-slicing mantis, an insect-type beast. Man shows interest in Yoon and calls her as her opponent. Li Peng laughs, saying he won't hold back just because she's a woman. Man summons her Thunder Lion, rank 3, stage 9, and demands that they give it everything they've got. Shin observes that among the remaining ones, the girl seems relatively weaker. Wu Zetian asks if the protagonist wants to face him. Lin accepts and tells him not to be too harsh on himself. At that moment, a female student approaches, commenting that the new girls are just too cute, and she can't stand girls cuter than her. It's Hui Hui. The 2 girls flinch, intimidated, while elsewhere several students start regaining consciousness, still disoriented. Liu sighs, saying they were truly eliminated. Zhao Yun replies that it's fine. There were too many geniuses anyway, and unless a miracle happens, it was inevitable. Lu says he played it safe the whole time, yet still lost in the end. And Rui groans that he still feels pain. Professor Chin observes the results and thinks that some truly stood out this time, until he feels someone tap his shoulder. It's Gao Wenbai asking to take charge of the next candidates. He complains that Gao rushed there just to steal students and says he worked hard to select them. Gao replies that the testing method is too extreme and risks wasting promising talents. He still has 10 openings and wants to look for a rough gem among the eliminated. Chin agrees, saying he can handle that. Wenbai then announces good news to those who didn't make the top 10. There are still 10 spots left, and anyone who passes his test will be accepted. The students cheer up and Lu smiles, saying it looks like a miracle really happened, promising to try even harder to reach the top 10. Lu declares he won't miss the chance this time. Meanwhile, in the forest, Tan falls to his knees after taking a hit, admitting in frustration that the difference in level is absurd. Z simply says he lost. Elsewhere, Man keeps attacking Li Peng, praising his endurance but declaring it's over. If she continues, it'll just turn into an execution. Li Peng, still fused with the demon, doesn't react, and Man asks if he can even hear her anymore. Watching from afar, Hui comments sarcastically that this is what they call a genius, and that at this academy, geniuses are the one thing they'll never run out of. Beside her stands a humanoid berserker beast, rank 3, stage 7. Hui laughs and says that the time they waste on makeup would be better spent on training, asking if the freshmen understand the lesson now. The 2 professors observe the battle. Gao remarks that he disagrees with this kind of method. One-sided oppression only serves to break the newcomer's confidence. Chen replies that he does it deliberately to keep their egos in check because if they enter the academy believing they're invincible, they'll soon forget that there's always someone stronger. Wenbai laughs and notes that it seems there's at least one student who doesn't crumble under such methods. In the forest, Wu struggles to fight back, but his warhorse beast is frozen solid. Stunned, he mutters that it's impossible while Lin, standing before him, declares the battle over. He, watching, says witnessing that was truly rewarding. He hadn't seen so many geniuses gathered together in ages. It felt like watching the youth of the legendary 8 prodigies of the Federation. Gao adds that even at their age, not even those 8 prodigies possessed such terrifying power, and he reveals the boy's name, Lin. He requests that Lin be assigned to his class as soon as possible. Chin protests that it isn't fair since the top 10 must be distributed according to the rules. The system issues a notification. Blazing Warhorse defeated. Zetian admits defeat. Guan cheers excitedly that her brother won, calling him incredible. Shin admits he's surprised by his strength, and Tan, though defeated, promises to turn his frustration into motivation once he returns. Z remarks, astonished, that Lin went easy on a freshman who hasn't even enrolled yet and still beat a second-year student. Lin replies that he has nothing to prove and asks if they still want to keep training. Tao snaps back that they shouldn't think they can be underestimated just because he used a trick to win, and Ze asks sarcastically if all three plan to attack at once. Z's mantis lunges forward, but the rock ghost intercepts the strike with full force. The professors intervene, saying that's enough. Tao was never a match for him to begin with. If the fight continued, the seniors would lose all credibility, and that Lin would only gain more enemies. Chin officially declares the test over. The only one who passed is Ze. The others also performed well, and it's believed they'll grow greatly once they enter Jiangning Academy. Z tells Lin they'll settle this once he's officially enrolled. Lin smiles and says there's no need to fight, it's already clear who's the best. Tao shouts for him to watch his back, swearing he won't forget this. The seniors vanish. Soon after, the system notifies, baptism reward granted. Lin's spiritual power rises to 1080. A voice congratulates him on his official admission to Jiangning Academy. The system updates again. Baptism complete. Plus 500 achievement points, total 1180. The rock ghost's growth increases to 33%, and the snow maiden's rises to 12%. When he returns with the others, the students surround him, amazed, saying he's truly powerful. So that's what someone who cleared the highest difficulty looks like. Z thinks that every time this atmosphere arises, it feels strangely familiar, until he feels someone touch him. It's Shin, who says he can sense that Lin's ghost beast still has a completely sealed form. The protagonist asks if that's true, and Yi confirms, even mentioning that she knows how to activate his exclusive soul technique, telling him to find her after the exam if he wants to learn more. Lin is taken aback, and Chin announces that the students who ranked in the top 10 are officially admitted, and that he will now name the best freshman of the year, Li Peng Yun, asking everyone to applaud. People clap, but confused, murmuring that something isn't right. How could it be him? Li Peng thinks that guy clearly outperformed him and feels humiliated. Gao comments that Lin deserves the first place title more and asks if this isn't unfair. He replies that they can't bet everything on one person and that the rules are clear. First place is determined by score. Wenbai informs everyone that those who participated in the resurrection trial and those in the top 10 may now leave and await the entrance ceremony in 10 days. Guan tells her friends not to worry, believing they can all pass the resurrection trial if they give their best. On the other side, Xiong approaches, saying his information wasn't that great, but that he saw Lin's fight against the second year and found it incredible having a proposal. The protagonist asks what he wants, and Zhou replies by asking if he can become his subordinate. Lin is baffled, not understanding, and Xiong says his respect for him overflows like an endless river. Lin apologizes, saying he doesn't accept subordinates. And besides, he's not even officially enrolled yet. Zhou insists he'll definitely pass and asks him to wait. Li Peng watches from afar. Elsewhere, a cheerful voice suggests celebrating their success in the test and their official admission to Jiangning Academy, proposing they enjoy a full day in the city. Ze agrees, saying 4 hours of battle were exhausting and they need to relax. Guan suggests staying in the city for the night and returning tomorrow, and the protagonist agrees. Ning smiles, but then they all suddenly notice something and check their phones. Lin realizes he spent all his previous money buying upgrade materials for his stubborn rock ghost and now has only 300 yuan left. Ning asks what's wrong and suggests they eat first. At the premium restaurant, a sign allows dining with contracted beasts, leaving Z puzzled to see such a place. Guan comments that she's wanted to come there for a long time, and that they should summon their beast too. They fought all day and deserve a good meal. And Lin agrees. Ning is amazed when she sees the Snow Maiden, saying that last time she looked like a little girl, but now she's beautiful, asking how he managed that. Lin replies that maybe it's because of his high compatibility with his contracted beast and thinks the whole system thing is too long to explain now. He'll tell Guan later when he has time. For now, the important thing is to enjoy the meal. Ning says he's amazing and that she wants him to teach her tonight as she starts placing the order. They look through the menu and Z is shocked by the prices. The rock ghost seems excited. The Snow Maiden strokes Guan's bird and the waitress asks if they've decided what to order. Guan orders for everyone. 5 minutes later, the feast arrives and everyone is thrilled. After eating, the rock ghost looks satisfied and the protagonist wonders what to do next. The waitress informs them the total is 37,000 yuan and asks how he'd like to pay. Guan steps forward, saying to leave it to her since she's been saving some secret money. As they leave the restaurant, Ning comments on how beautiful the city looks at night, and how excited she is to be studying there with her brother. Lin thinks he really needs to start earning money but might be too late to take on missions. Suddenly, they hear applause and cheers from a lively crowd, someone praising a hit, calling it incredible, saying the four-armed abomination is unbeatable, and that the Titan kangaroo beast has been defeated. The tournament announcer declares that anyone who can beat the four-armed abomination will win the full prize money. Just pay a 300 yuan entry fee to compete. The winner takes 50,000 yuan. Z grins, thinking he's just found a way to make money. A light flashes as the rock ghost is summoned, and the announcer reminds everyone that soul arts or spells are forbidden. Only hand-to-hand combat is allowed, giving the audience that raw, visceral thrill, and that all participants must sign a termination waiver releasing the arena from liability should a beast be killed. The protagonist asks if she wants to watch, and Guan replies by asking if he's really going to fight. Lin says that if they're offering free money, he won't be polite, and notes that the system scan confirms the four-armed abomination is rank 3, stage 1, while the rock ghost is rank 2, stage 9, so he decides to upgrade it for safety. Z channels mana into his pet, and the system notifies that it has been upgraded to rank 3, stage 3, consuming 780 achievement points and leaving 400. Lin thinks that the higher the rank, the more points are needed for evolution. Guan asks how he leveled it up so quickly, and Lin casually answers that maybe it just had a good meal. Ning says she believes he can win. The announcer presents the new challenger, asking for applause for his bravery, joking that the boy looks skinny and that the redstone creature beside him looks weird, wondering what they were thinking entering the death circle. The crowd laughs, saying the brat must be drunk and asking where that clueless kid and his weird red thing came from. Shu, the tamer beside the giant monster, stares at him and warns that if his four-armed abomination accidentally kills that thing, he shouldn't come crying later. Lin replies to go all out, and Shu calls him arrogant. The announcer hands them the waivers, they sign with a thumbprint, and the fight begins. Shu orders his abomination to show its power, and the creature charges forward. The rock ghost dodges, and Lin notes that in terms of speed, his pet has the upper hand. Rock ghost moves fast, but the abomination nearly lands a hit. Then it blocks his counterpunch, grabs his arm, and hurls him away, breaking part of his rocky body. Lin comments that it's pure brute strength, and Shu excitedly declares that his monster is unmatched when it comes to physical power, capable of defeating beasts even from higher ranks. Lin realizes the rules favor the abomination and now understands why they're so confident. The creature grins, grabs Rock Ghost by the leg and slams him again, smashing him into the ground while Shu mocks, asking if that's all he's got. The crowd laughs, Guan grows worried, and Z thinks that if he could use abilities, Rock Ghost in undead form could fight evenly, but since this is pure physical combat, he's clearly at a disadvantage, especially against an opponent with 4 arms perfectly built for raw power brawls. Even so, he remembers that his pet only unlocked a new form in moments of extreme danger. If what Jin said is true, this is the moment to bet everything. Either it awakens again, or they'll be defeated. Lin mentally asks whether his pet is truly fighting at full strength and if they're going to rely on the Snow Maiden every time to win. The Rock Ghost falls and the abomination lifts its foot to crush him, but the beast glares back with a murderous look, and in an instant its body is wrapped in spiritual energy, entering its phantom form and growing stronger. Lin notices the sudden transformation, realizing that the rocky armor can be shed mid-battle to unleash its full potential. The ghost charges forward again and Shu smirks, saying it still hasn't learned its lesson. But when the abomination tries to strike, the ghost vanishes. Shu's eyes widen in confusion as Rock Ghost appears behind the monster, unleashing a flurry of rapid blows. The abomination tries to counter, but its attacks pass harmlessly through the ghost's ethereal body, which keeps striking with deadly precision and a sinister grin. Lin orders it to finish him, and Rock Ghost activates Lightning Charge, dashing forward at blinding speed and colliding with the enemy in a devastating impact, completely destroying it. The system notifies, Rock Ghost advanced to rank 3, stage 4, skill Lightning Charge unlocked, usable in General Phantom form. General Phantom form complete. Shu stands in disbelief as the entire crowd rises to their feet, stunned by what they just witnessed. The announcer then declares loudly that the winner is the 4-armed abomination, leaving Z utterly confused. The audience erupts in boos, shouting that it's absurd. The boy simply fought back and didn't cheat. The announcer justifies the ruling by saying that, according to the rules, the contestant's pet used a spell-type ability, which invalidates the victory. The crowd protests, shouting that the ghost merely changed form. It was defending with its own armor, and that can't be considered a spell. Guan gets angry, saying that's obviously unfair. Shu takes an aggressive stance, mocking him and telling the boy not to think he can take money that easily with cheap tricks. Lin stares him down and says he has a new proposal. He admits defeat in the beast battle, but challenges him to a second fight, a one-on-one physical match between the two of them. If he wins, the prize money is his. Shu's eyes widen, asking if he's seriously saying he wants to fight him personally. The announcer, shocked, exclaims that this is unbelievable. The challenger wants a real hand-to-hand fight between humans. The crowd goes wild, cheering that they want to see it, and someone excitedly shouts that he's about to face none other than the former professional kickboxing champion, Barebone. The protagonist remarks that this is far more exciting than a pet duel, while the rock ghost lowers its head and Lin declares he's already won, saying now it's his turn. The stone ghost looks at him silently and Shu stands confidently, ready for the fight. The announcer observes that he's the first in history to dare challenge Barebone himself, admiring his courage for stirring things up, and adds that if he wins, he'll not only take the cash prize, but also teach the former champion a lesson. From the sidelines, Guan watches closely. Shu takes his stance, declaring they're going to have some fun. Elsewhere, a voice asks if she's fallen for that boy. Shin replies, asking what's wrong with that, and reminds them she's already said she only sees him as a brother. Tan retorts that what happened to him was worse than whatever that brat's been through, and besides, she doesn't even know the guy properly. He doesn't want her getting hurt. Yi answers coldly that she decides her own business, and that he should just go back and rest. She walks away as Yang mutters that he'll surpass that kid no matter what. Suddenly, someone screams for help. It's a girl about to be devoured by a monster, her pet already defeated. It's a blaze hound, flame type, level 1, stage 2. Tan strikes the monster hard, shouting for it to get out of the way, and the creature is flung backward. Yang rushes to the girl, asking if she's okay and where that beast came from. Then, a distant voice asks what kind of ferocious beasts exist in this world. A hooded man drops to the ground, and Tan demands to know who he is and whether that monster belongs to him. The stranger replies that these so-called ferocious beasts are simply beings labeled as evil, asking if it's truly right to exploit pets, questioning who decided such a thing. Yang asks what he's trying to say, and the man explains that pet beasts live far longer than humans. Yet because of the loyalty expected from them, some refuse to submit to new masters after their owner's death, wandering alone for years, uncared for, until they're branded as wild and dangerous. Tan summons his necromancer and tells him to stop spouting nonsense, warning that if he's manipulating these creatures to hurt people, he won't allow it. The hooded man calls him Tan Yang, surprising him, and Yang demands to know if he knows his grandfather's name and why he doesn't just surrender, saying he'll drag him to the Beastmaster Association for punishment. The monster steps forward, but the hooded man orders it to back down. A strange energy surrounds the fallen beast as swirling colors engulf it. It begins to scream, transforming into something much larger and more powerful. The man says that, in fact, he had planned to find them himself, but since they came to him, it now depends on how much value they have. The massive beast roars ferociously before them. Meanwhile, Shin walks closer to a crowd shouting encouragement, telling someone to finish that brat and show what they're made of. She's shocked to see the protagonist in the arena and cheers loudly, yelling that he can do it. Guan notices her presence and quietly watches. Shu flexes his muscles and starts boasting. In year 3241, he won his first wrestling championship at the Pyeonship in Gangsia City. In 3243, he defeated heavyweight Lei Long from Sakura Country in Jiping City. Afterward, he became a 3-time consecutive champion in Jiangning. Lin analyzes mentally and concludes that the average person's constitution score ranges between 2 and 4, but that man's must be between 4 and 8. Shu assumes most people would be trembling just hearing his record and wonders why that brat doesn't even flinch, saying that to avoid being accused of bullying him, he'll let the kid strike first. He'll even let him land a hit. The announcer comments that since he's giving the first move, he should go ahead, but warns him to be careful not to break his hand. Shu, confident, draws everyone's attention to himself, while Z warns that he won't hold back. In an instant, Shu takes a direct punch to the face and is hurled backward, crashing to the ground. The crowd falls silent, stunned by the power of a single blow. The announcer, speechless, mutters, asking what just happened, then concludes that Shu was defeated with just one punch. Shin and Guan cheer excitedly, but then glance at each other and quickly look away. The announcer tries to announce the result, claiming Lin struck first and broke the rules. But when Ze fixes him with a murderous stare, his hand still resting on his head, the announcer falters and quickly corrects himself, loudly declaring that the young man broke no rules and that the true winner is him. The protagonist receives 50,000 yuan and thinks that now, finally, he can afford to stay in a hotel for the night. The two girls approach. Shin comments that he wasn't bad at all, admitting she never thought he could actually win. Ning notes that they seem a little too close, and Yi reminds her that they'd already teamed up before and will soon be classmates as well, suggesting he reintroduce himself and saying they'll all get along just fine. Guan remains serious, and Lin asks what she's doing there. Z replies that obviously she came to help him awaken his exclusive soul power. Ning is surprised and asks what that is, and Shin explains that if he considers her a friend, she can help him through the process. The protagonist decides it's best to find a quiet place to talk. At the hotel, the two girls sit on the bed, commenting on how everyone somehow ended up booking the same room. Lin asks them to begin, and Yi explains that her exclusive soul power is called perception. She awakened it at age 7 and can sense things ordinary people can't, such as someone's aura, direction, or even glimpses of future events. Ning is astonished, saying that such a power is incredible. Ze asks how she can help him, and Shin tells him to close his eyes. The protagonist obeys, and Yi moves closer, transmitting a gentle energy. Guan tries to interrupt, but Shin quietly tells her not to. This is the only way she can feel his energy and guide him correctly. Ning agrees, saying they should trust her this time. Lin feels his heart race as a faint light spreads, and Yi envisions a beast. She steps back and explains that she sees something strange, contracted and twisted, as if it were a fusion between the rock ghost and the snow maiden, yet not fully resembling either. Ze is startled and asks if it's truly a fusion, and Shin confirms, saying that for now his constitution is too weak, so she can only perceive faint traces. Now it's Guan's turn, and she asks if it really has to be face-to-face. Yi insists that it does, because the deepest potential can only be sensed that way. Shin closes her eyes again, but suddenly opens them wide in shock, seeing a vision filled with countless monsters, one of them staring straight at her. Frightened, she pulls back. Ning asks what happened, but Yi disguises her reaction, saying she only saw dark shadows, and that his potential hasn't fully manifested yet. He'll need more training before anything clear can be detected. Guan, however, silently thinks that whatever those shadows were, she had a bad feeling about them, deciding not to say anything for now. Later, at 11:29 p.m., Shin notices the time and comments that it's late, adding that she's just a girl with nowhere to go, and if she leaves now, she might run into dangerous people. And of course, he won't let her spend the night alone. The protagonist agrees, and Yi thanks them for letting her stay. The three lie down on the bed. The girls stay awake, while Lin, flustered, lies stiff between them. He tries to focus and thinks about the fusion. It's time for Rock Ghost and the Snow Maiden to truly learn to understand each other. He must awaken their soul technique as soon as possible. 10 days later, a crowd gathers in a public square, talking excitedly that the class lists have finally been posted. Everyone rushes to the display board, and Z searches for his name, realizing he's ranked first. Guan cheers, saying they're in the same class again, and the protagonist replies happily that that's great. Shin approaches with a smile, announcing that she's also in Class 1, which clearly irritates Ning. Soon after, Tan arrives, covered in bruises, and Yi asks if he got into another fight. Yang explains they ran into some troublemakers, says he's been placed in Class 2, and jokes that maybe it's fate. Lipeng remarks that it's actually better not to be in the same class as that guy. If he were, he wouldn't be able to resist the urge to eliminate him. Tan declares that he intends to settle things with him sooner or later. Guan says it's amazing that even the two girls passed. Zhao Yun mentions they're in Class 4, recalling that only Classes 1 and 2 are considered elite and receive special treatment. But even so, they barely made it thanks to their effort. Lu adds that they should be grateful for all the training they received. Elsewhere, a voice rises. It's Professor Chin, announcing himself as the new instructor for Class 1, the elite class responsible for guiding them in cultivation over the next 3 years. He explains that there will be many lessons and attendance is optional, but warns that even those who skip must never interrupt their cultivation. Additionally, there will be periodic evaluations, and any student who fails will be transferred to a regular class. Finally, he adds that the top 3 students in each evaluation will receive a scholarship worth 100,000 yuan. Guan comments that as expected from Jiangning Academy, the scholarship amount is really high. With just 2 victories, one could already afford to contract a new high-quality beast. He adds that in addition, the school offers several clubs and programs focused on both entertainment and cultivation, which students can freely explore after classes. But there is one activity everyone must participate in: virtual combat. Behind the main building lies a massive hall capable of hosting thousands of students simultaneously. Through these simulated battles, students can gain real combat experience and increase the level of both the Beastmaster and their companion. Since it's fully connected to the Federation's network, they won't just face students from their own academy, but Beastmasters from across the entire Federation. And, of course, anyone who rises in rank not only receives great rewards, but also climbs the ranking tiers, from bronze, silver, and gold, all the way up to Beastmaster. The protagonist thinks he needs to strengthen Rock Ghost as soon as possible so it can reach Snow Maiden's level. Later, at home, Lin stands before his 2 companions and tries to perform the fusion, but the system reports failure. Incompatible levels. After class ends, Lin decides to head straight to the virtual combat area to start leveling up. As soon as the door opens, several students approach him with invitations. One group calls him to the Winter Club, specializing in ice-type beasts. Another tries to recruit him to the Colossus Club, focused on rock-type beasts, promising joint training and rapid growth. And there's also the Ghost Spirit Club, which despite its dark name claims to have lots of girls and even extra funding for activities. Lin apologizes and says that for now, he doesn't plan to join any club. At that moment, someone announces the arrival of the High Mountain Club members. Lin asks who they are, and a girl explains that it's one of the 5 top clubs in Jiangning Academy, made up only of elite students, pointing to a senior, one of the top 3 from last year's entrance exams. The group approaches, and Han confirms if he is really Ze, receiving a calm yes. Shin notices the scene and worries he might be in trouble, unaware that the same C is a member of the prestigious High Mountain Club. Han says he'll give him a chance. If he joins the club, they'll forget what happened before, reminding him that not just anyone gets accepted there. Tao insists that he shouldn't waste the opportunity. Lin thanks them but politely refuses, thinking that joining a club now would only bring headaches and no real benefit to his growth, even if it's the famous High Mountain Club. The other students are shocked by his refusal, calling it a missed chance. Z becomes angry, accusing him of ingratitude, saying that if he doesn't join today, he'll make the club his enemy. Lin simply walks away and tells them not to bother him. The group glares furiously, while Shin, watching from afar, smiles, finding him even more interesting for being someone who bows to no one. Guan asks her brother if he isn't afraid of causing trouble, and the protagonist replies that joining a club would only complicate things. If they're really as strong as they claim, they can prove it and make him change his mind. Elsewhere, students head toward the training arena. Lin and his partner go as well, and Guan decides she needs to keep up with his pace. The protagonist closes his eyes, and when he opens them again, he's already in another environment. A system message appears displaying his data. He looks around at the crowd and thinks there are far too many people in that virtual combat area, so he sets a modest goal, reaching the top 10,000. Soon after, notifications appear. Match confirmed, battle starts in 10 seconds. When transported, Lin finds himself in an open field with only one opponent ahead, thinking it looks like a pasture. The red-haired guy in front asks if it's his first time in virtual combat and if he's a student. Ze confirms, and the redhead grins, saying every year a batch of rookies shows up during the opening season, and he's lucky to have found one today. Easy points for him. He summons a boar, Stage 2, Phase 1, saying they'll have a good fight. Lin watches calmly, thinking it's no wonder they paired him with a beginner. He then summons his rock ghost, while the redhead declares he'll show him the difference that age and experience make. The rock ghost charges forward and defeats the boar with a single blow. The red-haired opponent panics as the creature continues its rampage, crushing the Viking warrior of Stage 2, Phase 3, the spiritual cat of Stage 2, Phase 6, and finally the enemy beast of Stage 2, Phase 9. 2 days later, the system notifies that Rock Oni has advanced to Stage 3, Phase 7, and Snow Maiden to Stage 4, Phase 2, placing him at rank 99,832. The protagonist thinks these intense battles over the past 2 days made Rock Oni rise 3 levels, and exhausted, he notices his companion lying on the ground, breathing heavily. Soon, a notification appears. The ultra-talented rookie has reached the top 100,000 in just 3 days. Students react in shock, calling him a real boss, saying no one can beat him since his win rate is 100%. Anyone who faces him is instantly defeated. Guan asks when he woke up. Li Peng approaches, recognizes him, and asks if he isn't the top freshman, praising his effort for still fighting at this hour. He then mocks him, bragging that he reached the top 150,000 in only 3 days. Guan checks her phone and announces that her brother has already broken into the top 100,000, just seeing the update. Li Peng freezes in disbelief. Elsewhere, Ning comments that her ranking is around 180,000 and that no matter how hard she tries, it's hard to climb further. She considers contracting another pet and asks if he has any recommendations. Ze is surprised and asks when she gained the qualification for a second contract. Ning reminds him she's the only one in the class who passed the advanced difficulty exam. The protagonist laughs and says he remembers, just teasing, then asks if she's already decided on the second beast. Guan replies not yet, explaining she must consider growth potential, rarity, and compatibility with her flame wing bird. Lin tells her not to worry since he now has some experience choosing beasts and will help her find one with hidden evolution. Ning gets excited and suggests they go together to the pet shop over the weekend. From a distance, Shin watches the two talking. Guan says goodbye and Yi approaches, commenting that they seem very close, inseparable, always training, studying, and even eating together, asking what exactly their relationship is. Ze replies that if there's nothing else, he'll go rest. Shin grabs his hands and warns that something might happen soon. Tan was attacked by a mysterious person, and from his memories it seems all candidates from the trials are being hunted. The protagonist asks who it is and what this person wants. Yi answers that she doesn't know, only that they're extremely strong and possess a soul art capable of demonizing beasts. She asks him to be careful. Lin thanks her and walks away while Shin lowers her head, thoughtful, feeling this might be connected to the dark vision she had of Guan and to a disturbing premonition about herself. Later, Z decides to train again, focused on reaching the top 10,000. His ranking rises quickly, hitting 10,002. Far away, the hooded man observes Lin's data on a laptop, commenting that he's interesting and concluding that it's time to test him. Moments later, Z enters a new match and faces a masked opponent. He jokes that he didn't know wearing masks had become trendy in combat. The masked man says nothing, simply summoning two beasts, a turtle and a dragonfish, remarking that he's not the only one with the two familiars. Lin summons his rock ghost and snow maiden, saying it's fair, 2 versus 2. Observing their levels, he notes their stage 4 beasts and thinks that anyone within the top 10,000 is truly strong. He can't even imagine how powerful the top 10 must be. The masked man says he knows him and never expected him to climb so high so quickly. He claims the previous opponents were all weak, and that only by defeating him can he prove himself a true elite worthy of working by his side. Z glares and tells him not to speak for others without consent, ending the talk and declaring it's time to fight. The masked man smiles and says he'll show him there's always a sky above another sky and someone stronger somewhere else. The dragonfish unleashes its power, but the ice spirit counters with a freezing wave, immobilizing it completely, and the rock ghost charges in right after, shattering the ice and defeating the enemy with one devastating strike. The turtle releases its powers and the rock ghost senses the threat, shifting into its spiritual form. The turtle morphs into a war chariot and charges forward. The ice maiden raises the Tamer's shield, blocking the impact, and the turtle crashes violently. At that instant, the ice maiden feels something strange. The dragonfish beside them conjures a whirlpool of water, while the rock ghost counters with earth spike, shattering the turtle into pieces. The ice maiden watches and releases her power, unleashing an icy explosion that freezes part of the creature's body. The masked opponent remarks that it's not bad at all and admits that Lin truly has skill. The protagonist thinks that, although he currently holds the advantage, the coordination between the two enemy beasts is excellent, realizing he must strengthen the synergy between Snow Maiden and Rock Ghost if he wants to face opponents like this in the future. The masked man smiles and says the real battle starts now. The dragonfish sprays water over the turtle, creating a thick layer of mud, and both activate a joint technique, water-earth reinforcement. Lin is astonished, thinking he's never heard of such a thing and finding it impressive to see a combo like that. The turtle charges again, the pressure increasing, and the rock ghost braces itself. Z clenches his fist and activates Extreme Ice Domain. The Ice Maiden unleashes a freezing torrent, turning the battlefield into a sea of ice. Lin takes the opening, rushes forward, and strikes the turtle with full force, but it withstands the blow without a single scratch. The masked man laughs, saying the spiked shell turtle's defense is unparalleled, that the frozen mud is now as hard as steel, and that Lin still has much to learn. The dragonfish releases a jet of boiling water, and Lin, surprised, thinks that the fish can even attack with heated water. He realizes he won't be able to use Extreme Ice Domain again anytime soon. As the attack comes, Lin steps in front of the Ice Maiden, blocking the blow with his own body. The masked man watches him and says calmly that he's passed. The Ice Maiden, enraged, glares at the enemy upon seeing her master fall, but Ze stands back up and says he's fine, acknowledging that they lost fairly and that there's still time to train and become stronger. The system announces that his rank has dropped to 10,081, and that the match will end in 30 seconds. The masked opponent comments that in the critical moment, Lin didn't hesitate to protect his beasts with his own life, and now understands why the boss is interested in him. Lin asks what he's talking about. The masked man explains that he wants him to join Symbiosis, an organization capable of awakening the hidden potential of his beasts and elevating him to a new level. Lin questions what this group is, saying it doesn't sound like an academy club, and demands to know its true purpose. The masked man only replies that time is short and he needs one answer, yes or no. Lin stares back and firmly replies, of course not. The masked man simply says he'll be waiting and vanishes. On the forum, people comment that the newly risen war god has fallen to rank 10,000, his first defeat. Even so, many acknowledge that for a rookie, he's incredibly strong. Others mock him, saying it was about time the arrogant one was knocked down. Li Ping appears and asks if he too has encountered the Symbiosis group. Ze asks if he joined them. Yun warns him not to underestimate them, saying anyone who tries to show off in front of them ends up paying dearly. Lin asks if they know where the group came from. Liping says not yet but plans to find out. Z remarks that there seem to be many members and that it must be the same group Shin mentioned earlier, suggesting that tracking the masked man might reveal useful information since ignoring this could cause serious trouble later. Later, Lin walks in thought, analyzing his progress. Rock Ghost is at Stage 3, Phase 7. Snow Maiden, Stage 4, Phase 2. He calculates that the remaining 1,000 conquest points might be enough to raise Rock Ghost to Stage 4, but without the required materials, advancement is impossible. The system displays the next evolution's requirements: Earth Spirit, which demands Stage 3, Phase 9, a growth rate of 100%, and High Purity Earth Element Essence. Lin does the math and concludes that buying everything would cost at least 400,000. At that moment, Joe rushes over, saying he saw the forum news about his defeat and asking if there's anyone he can't beat. Z replies he's not invincible, praises Joe's quick intel, and asks if he knows where to get high-quality earth essence and spirit-nourishing stones. Joe explains those are rare treasures and asks how many he needs. Lin replies that he needs 130 essences and 3 spirit stones. Joe laughs, saying not even a thief could pull that off, but mentions he knows a place where they might be found and invites him to come along. Lin agrees and says they should go immediately. On Lingyun Mountain, Xiong explains that before the Ancient War, countless dimensional rifts appeared around the world, and that particular one connects to another plane. Rumor has it that's where pet beasts originally came from. Decades ago, the Beastmaster Association and several academies managed to stabilize and secure access to some of those dimensional rifts, creating controlled routes known as secret realms. This allowed them to establish a steady flow of rare resources. However, there were still unexplored areas where countless adventurers entered seeking treasures and never returned, leading to the sites being sealed off. Ze asks if Joe is sure they'll find what they're looking for inside that secret realm. Joe confidently says yes, explaining that some powerful people have managed to come out with a portion of the resources, and that he obtained the information after great effort. According to him, that realm contains exactly what they seek: high-quality earth element essences and spirit-nourishing stones. Lin agrees and says they should go verify it. They approach the entrance and Xiong tries to make him reconsider, warning that if anything goes wrong in there, they might never make it out. Ze replies that as long as they get the 2 materials, the risk is worth it, and if he's scared, he can turn back. Joe laughs, saying he gathered all this information precisely for this moment and believes they'll leave rich. The 2 enter the cavern. Nervous, Xiong summons his monster, which begins devouring some scattered crystals on the ground. Joe comments that they're low-grade crystals used to enhance low-level Earth-type beasts. Worth little, but in a secret realm, resources that used to be expensive can be found everywhere, so they should take advantage. Lin, however, notices something odd and orders them to stop. Among the crystals, a crystal caterpillar emerges. Rock type, rank 2, stage 4. He observes curiously, wondering if materials truly grow within other creatures, realizing that evolution materials might actually be parts of these beasts themselves. He decides to face it. The big-mouthed monster charges forward and swallows the caterpillar whole. Joe, confident, says not to underestimate his pet and that now it's just a matter of digestion. But soon Bokinha spits the caterpillar back out onto the ground. Xiong interprets, saying the monster is complaining that it's too hard to chew. Zhao wonders if he can actually understand beast language. The caterpillar emits strange sounds and they realize more are approaching. Joe warns that his pet isn't good at group battles, and Lin orders him to fall back. The Ice Maiden releases a freezing wave, turning everything around them into frost, while the rock ghost smashes through the creatures with its strikes. Excited, Xiong says they could make a fortune from this, ordering his monster to carry the crystals and proposing a 70-30 split in his favor. The protagonist refuses, telling him to drop everything. Joe doesn't understand and asks why, arguing that even if they're low value, the quantity would bring a good profit. Lin explains that Boquinha can only carry so much weight, and filling it with junk would be a waste since the truly valuable materials must lie deeper inside the secret realm. Xiong agrees and follows him farther in. As they advance, they notice many insects, but Lin thinks that high-level essences and spirit stones wouldn't be among such weak creatures. They continue until they stop before something ahead: massive rocky beings. Joe asks what they are. One of them attacks Boquinha, and Lin reacts instantly, charging alongside the rock ghost. They discover the creatures are rock snakes. Snakeox, rank 3, stage 4. Z curses, noting that the damned things attack and then retreat underground, forcing them to stay on the defensive, which puts them at a disadvantage. So he decides to change tactics, watch their movement patterns, and strike the moment they surface. Xiong runs after his pet, yelling for it to retreat, but the creature grabs him as well. Lin, seeing this, feels a sense of déjà vu. The snake lunges at him, but he activates a protective barrier while the rock ghost hits it from behind. The Ice Maiden launches frozen projectiles, and the rock ghost leaps aside to avoid the next strike. Joe observes and points out that he could simply phase through in spirit form, asking why he dodged physically instead. Another serpent bursts from the ground and the rock ghost grabs it, but a third one emerges from behind. It reacts quickly and strikes back, though the creature keeps pressing forward. Xiong shouts desperately that it's coming again. Lin orders everyone to stay still and wait for the right moment. When the snakes rise again, he yells that it's now. The Ice Maiden unleashes a freezing wave that covers the entire field, immobilizing the creatures. Joe watches in awe, realizing the big bro had used the rock ghost as bait to lure all the serpents to the same spot before the attack. Lin then gives the final command, crushing impact. The blow lands perfectly and the system notifies that the giant rock python has been eliminated, granting 2 high-grade earth element essences. Z thinks he only needs to defeat 28 more to gather everything required. Suddenly, Xiong is struck again and falls as new creatures emerge from the ground. Joe is thrown to another spot, confused and asking where he is. Xiong begins screaming as he notices dozens of glowing eyes in the darkness, panicking and saying he knew he shouldn't have come, insisting he's not tasty. At that moment, the ground opens. Lin had created an opening using the rock ghost. Xiong shouts in relief that Big Bro came to save them. Lin orders them to stop yelling and get ready. Xiong nervously laughs, saying he knew Lin wouldn't abandon him until Joe realizes in horror that the creatures are closing in even faster. Ze summons the Ice Maiden, who casts a storm of ice shards. Trembling, Xiong asks if he thinks they're going to die there. The system notifies high-grade Earth Element Essence +1, high-level Earth Element Essence +2, another high-grade Earth Element Essence +1. Lin notes that although only 1 essence drops per creature compared to adult rock serpents, these juveniles are extremely fragile. More notifications appear. Total, 9 high-grade essences. Joe exhales in relief and laughs, calling Lin his brother from another mother and swearing never to doubt him again. Before he finishes speaking, another serpent bursts out of the ground beside him, and Xiong laments loudly, asking why it's always him. Lin commands the rock ghost to rescue them. The spectral beast leaps forward, grabs them both, and pulls them from danger, facing the enormous serpent head-on. Z watches and says the time has come to show the results of their joint training. The snake lunges, the rock ghost enters its spiritual form while the Ice Maiden moves sideways, dodging and countering with freezing chains that bind the beast's body. The rock ghost charges, and Lin, focused, issues the final command. The Ice Maiden activates her general form and strikes the python head-on. The system notifies rock ghost rank 3 stage 7, stage 8, achievement unlocked, cleansing of the giant rock serpent nest. Reward, 500 conquest points, 10 high-grade earth element essences, 1 spirit-nourishing stone. Lin thinks with satisfaction that the rock ghost leveled up, and with his accumulated conquest points, will have enough experience to reach the next evolutionary threshold. Joe celebrates, saying it's amazing, and that now they should look for treasures. The nest must hold many valuable items. At that moment, the sound of clapping echoes through the cavern and a voice says, "It was a truly magnificent battle." It's the hooded man. He smiles, stating that Z truly deserves his attention. The protagonist demands to know who he is and how he knows so much about him. The hooded figure meets his gaze and replies enigmatically that surely he's already heard of the symbiosis group. Lin frowns, remembering the earlier encounter, thinking to himself, symbiosis again. Xiong blurts out, asking if he's one of them. Lin turns to Joe and asks if he knows what this group is. Joe nods. 2 days ago, Li Peng himself had asked him to investigate the organization. He explains that the symbiosis group has been repeatedly attacking beastmasters, claiming to protect pet beasts. Their doctrine is to free beasts from human servitude, believing that true symbiosis can only exist through complete freedom. The hooded man smiles in agreement and begins to speak. He says that ever since the great catastrophe centuries ago, when dimensional rifts allowed the beasts to invade, the world was divided. Those that accepted humans became pets, and those that resisted became feral. He asks who decided that division, why humans obsessed with measuring worth and superiority impose their own rules upon other species. He declares that the world is unjust and symbiosis exists precisely to destroy that false justice. Then he looks directly at Zay and says that he has talent and potential, inviting him to join them. He promises that beyond awakening his inner power, the group will free his familiars, allowing them to reach their true nature and evolve into authentic kings. Z wonders what becoming a king would even mean, and whether this man truly knows the hidden evolutionary paths of the Snow Maiden and the Rock Ghost. The protagonist feels something off. He realizes the man is merely trying to provoke emotions. He's certain the world is unfair, place where the strong approach the weak only to control them, and resolves that he will never join any organization that seeks to manipulate him. Joe warns him not to listen to such nonsense, saying he's already investigated everything. The group uses those same manipulative words to deceive people everywhere, nothing more than terrorists pretending to be righteous. If they truly had the power they claim, they would have already crushed the Beastmaster Association and ruled the world long ago. The hooded man replies that it seems Joe doesn't even believe himself, and that in that case, it's fine. Then, from between the giant rocks, a massive creature emerges. Rank 7, Stage 2. Lin strokes the serpent and a blinding light bursts out, the air pressure skyrocketing as the monster's roar shakes the cavern. Z watches carefully beside Xiong, and the hooded man orders them to look closely. The serpent grows larger, its aura intensifying, and the man declares that to break the chains and renew oneself is the first step toward true evolution. The protagonist realizes that the giant rock serpent's rank just jumped 3 levels, a spiritual technique capable of demonizing beasts and familiars, without a doubt the same one used in the attack on Yong. The hooded figure urges him to show his strength. The serpent opens its colossal mouth and unleashes a deafening roar, compressing the air and sending shockwaves through the cave. As the smoke clears, the ice phantom raises her frozen crystal mirror. Joe mutters that they're in real trouble this time, regretting not having let his monster eat something good before coming. Then, a voice rises. It's the serpent itself, moaning in pain, saying its entire body hurts. Xiong confirms nervously that it's complaining about the pain. Zed declares that these people claim to seek equality, but in truth, they just want to control the weak and use them for their own gain, asking if that's what they call justice. The serpent darts forward and the protagonist says that running won't help, ordering to freeze the blizzard and use the chance to find its weak spot. The Ice Phantom releases her power, and Lin calculates that the Snow Maiden is rank 4, Stage 2, while the demonized serpent has reached rank 5, Stage 1. Ice versus Earth, neither holds a natural advantage. Under normal conditions, defeating a higher rank opponent would be nearly impossible unless they bought another Berserk card. However, he notices this serpent isn't a true rank 5 creature. Any spiritual technique that forces a beast past its natural limit inevitably brings severe backlash. The system confirms the total consumption of skill points to enhance Rock Ghost's growth, raising it from rank 3, Stage 8 to rank 3, Stage 9 with 100% growth rate. The Phantom lunges forward, the ground shaking violently, and Z analyzes that the spiritual form boosts the Rock Ghost's speed by 300%, but cuts its defense by 100. A glass cannon. Coordinating with him, the Ice Phantom hurls frozen stones, and the two spirits exchange glances. The system notifies, fusion rate increased. New combo skill unlocked. Ice Core Crash, a powerful joint attack that infuses a rock core with freezing energy until it detonates on impact, the damage and suction depending on the charge time. The protagonist's eyes light up as he reads the description. Ice Core Crash fills a rock core with ice energy until it ruptures, the explosion's power and pull varying with the charge. Lin concludes that this spiritual fusion is only possible because the Snow Maiden and Rock Ghost have reached equal levels and developed perfect synchronization. The Phantom charges. The serpent senses the danger, and the strike heads straight for its weak point. The serpent roars, a brutal sound echoing through the cave, but the Rock Ghost keeps attacking relentlessly, each hit cracking the ground. The Ice Phantom watches in alarm as Z realizes the situation is critical. The demonized rock serpent is attacking with terrifying frequency, and the Snow Maiden can't conjure the crystal mirror fast enough to protect her partner. The hooded man comments coldly that they should try harder, as it would be disappointing to see them die so easily. The protagonist orders the Snow Maiden to use her ability, thinking that the man is merely toying with them. No one knows what else he intends to do, so they must end this quickly. He commands the big mouth monster to find a way to draw the serpent's attention, since his beast's abilities require charge time. Joe, frozen in fear, wonders if he really has to provoke it. Lin snaps back, asking what else he expects. If all 5 of them die there, no one will even be left to collect the bodies. Xiong, sweating cold, shouts that he doesn't want to die and orders the big mouth monster to attack with acid. The creature opens its massive jaws and spews a torrent of corrosive acid over the serpent, which screams in agony as the liquid eats away at its body. Moments later, another attack of the ice element cuts through the air. It's the Ice Phantom, executing Ice Core Crash. Both beasts take their positions side by side, ready for the final strike, and Z shouts the command to attack. A colossal explosion engulfs the battlefield, lighting up everything around them. They watch closely, tense, and Joe murmurs that he can still hear something. It's still alive. The protagonist orders them to check, and Xiong, hesitating, asks if they really have to get closer, muttering under his breath for his brother to wait for him. The serpent, lying on the ground, moans in pain. It hurts, uncomfortable, so painful, and Xiong translates that it's begging for help, wanting them to end its suffering. Lin closes his eyes, takes a deep breath, and releases his mana. The system notifies, achievement unlocked for defeating a demonized giant rock serpent while skipping levels. 1,000 conquest points obtained, high-grade earth element essence acquired, helped the demonized giant rock serpent find liberation, plus 500 conquest points. Bonus rewards, 2 spirit nourishing stones, 1 soul crystal, soul recovery elixirs, and explosion seed cards. Z looks over the items and thinks that the rock ghost now has everything it needs to evolve. Yet a strange heaviness grips his chest, an inexplicable bitterness he can't quite shake. The hooded man steps forward, noticing his expression, and asks if he's angry, reminding him that beastmasters normally hunt creatures for materials, that there's no difference here. The protagonist glares back fiercely, gritting his teeth, then closes his eyes for a moment before replying with steady resolve. Yes, beastmasters hunt beasts to survive, but when they face something stronger, they become the prey. This world is full of injustices and contradictions, but what he despises most are people like him, those who speak of equality and freedom while forcing their beliefs on others, exploiting the weak whenever it suits them. He declares that the man's group, Symbiosis, is nothing but a pack of hypocrites masquerading as the righteous. The hooded man, still calm, replies that it's fine. It seems they've reached an impasse. But perhaps that girl, the bearer of demonic spiritual magic, will be more willing to listen to him instead. Guys, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new content. Thank you.